Happy Friday. Congratulations to all. You made it. Morale is high. Jackson is back. Where have you been? What the hell's your deal?
You locked me in the basement.
You think that the football team just starts to lose and you can just stop showing up to work? The rest of us didn't.
He broke out.
I broke out of that basement you locked me in. I'm back and better than ever. And I missed you boys. How you doing?
Well, we're happy to have you back. We're glad that you're okay. You're accusing me of locking you away,
Yes.
sending you to the shadows and throwing away the key?
Absolutely.
Well, it's something I've been threatening for quite some time. Maybe now you'll listen to me. Probably not.
Nope.
Yeah.
Was it a basement or a cellar, like Silence of the Lambs type of situation?
He only brings this up because he's been watching Silence of the Lambs for apparently on repeat all week.
I did. I watched it the other night.
Under Buck's house, there is now a wine cellar that he locked me in. Great selection in there. A nice Bordeaux I had for dinner last night.
Wait, isn't that also from Silence of the Lambs? A nice Chianti with fava beans.
Yes, with fava beans.
Foul. Yeah. You ever? What's the? I'm going to test your guys' literature knowledge off the top here. Did you ever? Were you ever reading Edgar Allan Poe poetry at some point in your grade school or high school experience? The Cask of Amontillado.
Is that the one where he's going insane because he killed somebody and he thinks their ghost is haunting him?
I can't remember the exact storyline. All I remember is that it ends with him walling some dude up in a wine cellar. So literally with bricks and stuff like that. So yeah, I threatened Jackson, and that's what happens when you mess around and find out. But either way, we're going to mess around and find out until 1 o'clock today. We're happy to have you. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. If you are so inclined to get involved there, the number, you know it, 615-737-1045. I know Jackson is back because this is the first time in 2 weeks I've seen the Price is Right on my television.
Oh, has Bert been slacking on that?
He has. There's been a million other things going on, and people have been traded, and he's been doing 7 hours of radio today, so I cut him a little bit of slack. Not much.
You've gone soft.
It's true. Losing will do that to you.
They've broken you, is what you're saying?
No, clearly I'm a winner. I'm dressed in winning gear today. The Indiana Hoosiers are hosting the Washington Huskies. They're also having college game day. I'm a winner. I can't speak for you two.
I have determined I am anti-Indiana from here on out.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, for reasons we'll discuss later.
Okay. Well, we will get around to that because, of course, the Vols are off this weekend. Vanderbilt with a huge game. We've been promising you that we're going to talk about this Texas Vandy game, and we will do so today. Coach Mack will join us as well. Thursday night football last night between the Rams and the Vikings was a fun watch. We don't get, I don't know, it's been pretty 50-50 on Thursday night football games so far this year. They haven't been all outrageously bad the way that I think we're all conditioned to think that Thursday football is just an inferior product.
The game of the year, to me, the most entertaining game of the regular season to this point was that Falcons-Bucks game. Overtime, Kirk Cousins, 500 yards.
509 passing yards.
509 and 4 touchdowns. By the way, the rematch is on Sunday this weekend.
Yes.
Between Falcons and Bucks. So, yeah, it's not been all bad.
And last night delivered. You got the Rams winning at home 30-20 over the Minnesota Vikings. Vikings are now losers of 2 straight. The Lions, who are, of course, the Titans' next opponent, handed them their first loss of the season.
Brutal way to lose.
Yeah, there was a couple of things in that game because it seemed to really unravel when Christian Darrisaw, their left tackle, went down. And all of a sudden, you've got Jared Verse, the rookie out of Florida State, who's just mauling Titans legend David Quessenberry, who, by the way, still... I am so happy for David that he continues to play football and having overcome his cancer diagnosis and everything, because he's been in the league now for, I don't know if it's quite a decade, but it's got to be pretty close, at least in terms of time spent. So it was good to see him. It's good to see him still out there playing, but, he's a backup left tackle for a reason, and things started to spiral. Also, the Vikings getting away with it.
Yeah, that's the story. We're burying the lead there. My goodness. That was one of the most egregious face mask penalties by VFL Byron Young I have ever seen. He even ran away from the scene, hands on helmet. I almost had him, but I grabbed his face mask before realizing that the official that was right there, feet away, did not throw the flag.
You had 2 calls in that situation. That was obviously the most detrimental call, we'll say, to the Vikings' chances, because the other call went in favor. Maybe it's a ball don't lie type of situation because they got away with the Justin Jefferson catch in that game.
That was a catch. That was a catch.
I love that it wasn't overturned as a catch, but it could have very easily you could have very easily nitpicked the idea of, did he have possession of the football? Did he have control of the football as he's, juggling it essentially in the air, somehow hauls it down like under his armpit, gets 3 feet in. He is a god amongst men. He really is.
Not
He's
even
so fun to watch.
as remotely egregious as the face mask, though. Like, I'm not willing to put those on the same plane. Why is face mask not a reviewable penalty?
That's a good question. I feel like it definitely should be.
Feels like it is very conducive to being reviewed.
Well, it's just, so where is the line between, okay, I want this thing reviewed? Like, what was it defensive pass interference that was non-reviewable and then reviewable for a period of time, and then they reverted that because coaches, it was getting nitpicked and
no one was calling
games, and then it got to the point where nobody was calling it.
Or no one was overturning pass interference.
It's, it is a fine line with stuff like that, because I feel like if you really wanted to get in there with the offensive lineman and defensive lineman, you could probably find like face mask holding.
I don't know. I feel like pass interference is so much more of a gray area penalty than face mask. Defense versus offense, just leaving it at that. Does a finger or hand get into the ear hole or face mask of a helmet? It's simply yes or no. Like, I don't think there's a lot of gray area when it comes to face mask penalties.
I get that. I just think that, it's not a rule because teams haven't tried to make it a rule, right? Ownership and the NFL Players Association, they haven't agreed that it should be a reviewable call when they have the league meetings and things like that. So if you're a fan of a losing team and you're on the other end of a call like that, then yeah, you're definitely being like, what the hell? Why isn't this reviewable? But if you're the league at large, you're like, okay. 615-737-1045 is the number. Like I said, we'll get your phone calls here in just a second. But some local ties to the Thursday night football game. I want Matt Stafford to quarterback the Titans. I'm not saying that they should trade for him at the deadline because, season is out of hand at this point. You're 4th place in the division. Not by a considerable margin, but it's not. You're not saving 2024 by trading for a veteran quarterback right now. And by the way, the Rams are back in the mix because they are now 3-1 at home. They're 3-4 at the division. Isn't Seattle in the lead at 3-4 right now? So they're at best in second place.
Seattle 4-3.
4-3. 4-3 Seattle. 3-4 the Los Angeles Rams. So the division is still in hand for LA, who can find ways to make this move. But Stafford does have an out on his contract if they decide that they would like to go in another direction at the end of the year. It was talked about him being shopped at the deadline. I don't think that's going to happen now. And Minnesota, the team that he would be, the team that would make the most sense to trade for Matt Stafford, Sam Darnold wasn't the issue last night. That connection between him and Justin Jefferson is just fine. Now they got to worry about a left tackle. But the more that I think about the Titan situation and the more that I think about the idea of drafting a rookie quarterback with a top 5 pick, I'd rather just have Luther Burden and Matt Stafford for a year. Or one, because there's probably right now, and again, mock draft Friday?
No.
Okay. Just checking. I'm going to do this every day. But let's say there's 3 wide receivers. If you count Travis Hunter, let's say 3 wide receivers in the top 10 this year.
Burden, Hunter, and T-Mac from over at Arizona?
I would think. And, maybe there's some things that change throughout the course of the draft process, the physicals, the evaluation, the combine, all of it. But let's just say, for all intents and purposes, 3 wide receivers in the top 10. I would so much rather have Luther Burden and set this team up for future success so that whenever, because at some point you're going to have to go to a rookie quarterback. Whenever you go to the rookie quarterback, I want you to have the best possible roster around this rookie quarterback, because I'm tired of watching crappy quarterback play. I'm just sick of it. So, and it doesn't mean that Stafford would only be here for 1 year, and I know there's some different things that have to happen because he's still got years on his deal, but they do have an out. I am proven veteran quarterback in 2025 instead of going with a draft pick, because I'm not totally sold on these quarterbacks that are going to be there in the first round, and I am just so sick and tired of watching them flounder around with quarterbacks that they can't figure out.
Well, it all depends on their evaluation of this upcoming quarterback class, right?
I get it.
But no, I get where you're coming from, man. There's probably a lot of people, not just here, across the NFL, that are tired of we got to see what we got. Sick of see what we got.
Sick of it.
Understanding that that's how you build, and And contenders typically win with a quarterback that they drafted, with some exceptions, like obviously the Rams and Stafford. But you look at what the Commanders are doing with Daniels, and you want a piece of that, what the Texans are doing with C.J. Stroud, and you want a piece of that, and that means hitting on a quarterback in the draft. But yes, there is definitely a sentiment across the NFL as you watch young quarterbacks struggle and the constant gamble that is quarterback drafting of, I am tired of see what we got, because we've got to do something with a guy on a rookie deal when he's clearly not ready.
Tannehill had a ceiling. Stafford is a higher ceiling. Well, I mean, Stafford, it's crazy that Matt Stafford has been in the league this long. At this point, he's still not the oldest quarterback in the league. That's the ghost of Aaron Rodgers wandering around Florida. And it's not Florham Park. Yeah, Florham Park, New Jersey. That's where the Jets facility is. But I think that the viability of Tannehill-esque stopgap, right? Now, in a perfect world, when I say the word Tannehill, it probably triggers some of you because you understood that that player had a clear and obvious ceiling and that you reached that ceiling. And then everything after that was less than. And it didn't feel good. And then you felt like you were stuck. And then you moved money around because you were for sure stuck after the Julio Jones trade and the restructuring of Ryan Tannehill's money. And you had to ride it out to that point. But there are ways to make this work without another year of let's see what we've got. Because it's not just about how empty that stadium is going to be when the Titans host the Patriots here in 2 weeks. It's about the next 2 years of what that stadium is going to look like if you don't give people some reason to show up to watch this product and substantially improve it. And I know that, all in for 2027, provided that they open this thing on time and, it stands to reason that they may have a new quarterback, a new coaching staff, a new front office, a new everything, just to sell you on the idea, hey, it's all brand new, bright and shiny. Let's get you in for 2027. Let's open this thing with a bang. But I need a reason. I mean, I don't need a reason. I'm paid to. They need to give you a reason to care about their product until such time as they open this new stadium. And you cannot do it with the promise of potential and let's see what we've got. So whether it's Stafford or somebody else, we'll talk about it later on. 615-737-1045 is the number. What can we learn about the Titans wide receivers without DeAndre Hopkins? He made some comments yesterday that a lot of Titans fans got butthurt about. They shouldn't have, but they did. You'll hear from DeAndre Hopkins, and we'll also talk about Calvin Ridley. Where is he? I'm Buck Reising. It's 1045 The Zone. Welcome back to the show. We are fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. So, you are down one receiver. DeAndre Hopkins goes to the Kansas City Chiefs. I saw highlights of him practicing. He's wearing number 8, as we talked about yesterday. We were wondering, I think, why he was wearing number 8 yesterday, and then he, in his first Kansas City Chiefs media availability, says it's for Kobe Bryant, which is cool.
Very cool. So 10 was for Lionel Messi.
Yep.
And 8 is for Kobe.
So, cool to see a high-level athlete paying tribute to some of his favorite high-level athletes. Now, let's hear from DeAndre Hopkins on what it meant to him to be traded from Tennessee to Kansas City at this point in his career before we talk about what exactly this wide receiver room is going to look like without him. This was D-Hop yesterday.
DeAndre, what you've done in your career, what does it mean to you to come into a building that knows how to win championships and the approach that it takes?
It means a lot. It takes your game to a different level. It takes your focus, your drive, knowing that you're playing for something. It takes your game to a different level. I haven't played meaningful football in a couple years since, we probably started 8-0 in Arizona. So, it takes your game to a different level.
Okay. Completely factual.
Yeah, I have not seen a single Titans fan disputing or taking issue with that.
Oh,
have you?
Yeah, I retweeted it and I got a bunch of burn. He must have hated his time here. Oh, this feels so bad as a Titans fan. Oh, DeAndre Hopkins, what a slight against the Titans organization. Okay, I mean, what are you mad about? He's right. So there's that. And much ado about nothing because he is going to compete on a team that is meaningfully competitive for the first time. What was the year when the Arizona Cardinals started 8-0? Because I remember that, and then they you want to talk about crashing out.
Mm-hmm. 2021? I want to say it was 2021.
I mean, that is as bad a situation for Cliff Kingsbury, Kyler Murray, and that whole team as I've ever seen, because that was were we doing 17 regular season games at that point in 2021? Because I want to say they lost like 7 of their last 8 or something horrible.
I think that
was the first year.
Yes.
Oof. So anyway.
So that's the last time he has played football for a team that meaningfully is in the playoff discussion.
Factually accurate. And from my understanding, he feels good. He feels as good right now, even though he dealt with the knee stuff at the start of the year. It's my understanding he feels as good right now as he's ever felt. It's almost like a Derrick Henry situation where he's not getting a lot of volume. So his body is as rested at this point in the season as it ever has been. So you see Derrick producing at a high level. And so they gave him the decision, again, my understanding, they let him decide whether or not he wanted to be moved. And he made the decision, yeah, I would like to be moved, let's go. And that's when the real catalyst for the Kansas City Chiefs' interest and the overnight trade discussions and all these things happened, because he's trying to get the most out of himself at 32 years old while he's got a limited amount of time to continue to play football.
And by the way, he tweeted yesterday, "Thank you, Nashville, for bringing joy on and off the field. Yes. Nashville will forever be home."
Yes. And like I said, he will continue to be involved in this city beyond his football playing career. Now, for the rest of them, Calvin Ridley has not practiced for 2 straight days. And we penciled this segment in before Wednesday, when they would be out on the practice field, having some level of understanding that Calvin Ridley was going to be available. I don't know what final determination they're going to make on Calvin Ridley. Fair to expect, if he's just out there for a walkthrough today dealing with a foot injury, that he's not going to play against the Lions. We will have that determination before the end of the show, so we will update you as this thing goes along, specifically in the noon hour. So it's not just without DeAndre Hopkins on Sunday. Theoretically, it's without Calvin Ridley. Now you would say, well, they're not doing much anyway in this Titans offense. What does it matter? Reset the board. Let's run it out there with no Treylon Burks. Okay. Nick Westbrook-Akina, Jaquan Jackson, Tyler Boyd. You got a couple of guys on the practice squad like Tay Martin. You got a Bryce Oliver that you've been interested in here in the last couple of weeks. Mason Kinsey. Fair to expect that there will be call-ups ahead of Sunday's game. What can we learn about these Titans wide receivers moving forward of consequence without DeAndre Hopkins and potentially Calvin Ridley? Because this group of wide receivers, I would imagine, is going to look a lot different in 2025. Right? You got Boyd on a 1-year deal. You got a bunch of practice squad guys.
NWI on a one-year deal.
NWI on a one-year deal. So help me God if they don't resign. Honestly, he needs to go make real money somewhere. And I'm assuming that he would have had there been better opportunities for him than the 1 year. I think it's what, 1.17 or 1.5 million dollars this year for Nick Westbrook-Akina. He deserves a contract of greater substance. So whether that's here or somewhere else, somebody needs to give it to him. We know what NWI is. He is old reliable. Teron Davenport at ESPN calls him a hood Honda Civic. It's just it's reliable. It's going to be there. It'll run until the wheels come off. Right.
Put $300K on that thing.
That's right. This thing is not going anywhere. So you've got NWI, a known commodity. Jaquan Jackson, we talked to him Wednesday, I guess that would have been. And he was like, yeah, I can play all three positions. I stay ready. We mentioned that yesterday. The comments made from people in the facility, the comments made by us about him being the oldest, most mature young person you've been around, factually accurate.
Well, he's the answer here. He's at the top of the list, right?
Well, there is. Now, here's the thing, because a lot of you, just quickly, because there are a couple of people who could be around here longer term. Colton Dowell is another one, but he's currently on injured reserve.
Yeah.
That was a late season ACL tear. They have not. There's not even been a practice window opened up for him. So anything with Colton Dowell, you would almost have to put off until at least December. Give him a calendar year to kind of figure that out. I think that was like week 17, unfortunately for him.
Yeah, well, it was in Houston, right? So I think it was week 17.
Would have been week 17.
Second to last game, yeah.
That was the New Year's Eve game. So it's just Jaquan Jackson, right?
Oh, yeah.
Mason Kinsey does the thing every year. The scene from The Simpsons where Moe the bartender is tossing Barney the drunk out of the bar, and all of a sudden Barney just ends up, he teleports behind Moe after Moe's tossed him out of the bar. That's Mason Kinsey every year around training camp.
Yeah, he's the only one that's part of this discussion that was drafted by Rand Carthon. Bryce Oliver, is a solid player. UDFA, did some good things in the preseason, deserves to get an opportunity with injuries piling up at the top of the wide receiver depth chart. But in terms of guys that this administration brought in, Jaquan Jackson, also a guy who flashed in training camp, who had some big days in joint practices against the Seahawks, who showed some big playability and has already been involved in special teams. It starts and ends with Jaquan Jackson for me. The conversation about who do you want to learn something about with this window of opportunity of no D-Hop and potentially no Ridley on Sunday.
It's going to be a run-heavy game plan, no matter who's out there playing wide receiver, right? Like, there is no reason to believe, unless Callahan just tries to come out there and shock the world with a high-volume passing offense in Week 8 in Detroit, they're going to run the air out of the football. They're going to try and play a low-possession game to try and limit how many times the Lions can score on them, essentially. But you still have to have some semblance of a passing game. Now, here's the question. Tyler Boyd is still available. Jaquan Jackson, an outside wide receiver? Because I think people are going to look at his stature specifically and say, no, that guy's a slot. But, and you can take this with a grain of salt, because they said this about Kyle Phillips too, and Kyle Phillips did nothing of consequence, but that was because his body failed him more than anything. When they drafted Jaquan Jackson, it was not just that they wanted a punt returner, and also they were touting that they believed him to be to have dual returner capabilities, and they've showcased that this year, and they've tried to, even though their special teams unit as a whole, not just Jaquan, has been less than. Are you gonna run him out there as your ex-wide receiver, or split him out wide? And you can split Boyd out wide and him still be your primary slot guy. Like, you can do different things with these dudes. They don't just have to be married to one position. But the best case scenario for Jaquan Jackson is that he becomes smaller NWI, right? The reason Nick Westbrook-Akina exists is because he can play all three positions well enough. He is the Daniel Brunskill of receivers.
Well, I think they're different players, though. Jaquan Jackson and Nick Westbrook-Akina.
Yes, but let me make the point here. Brunskill exists. Why? Because he plays all five positions well enough. He's not great at any one of them, right? He's not a great right tackle. He's not a great right guard. He's not a great center. But he can play all of them well enough, and he knows the assignments well enough that makes him viable moving forward. Nick Westbrook-Akina is the same, is that version of the wide receiver. He knows all three wide receiver spots, so that when you have somebody go down, that you can not exactly plug and play, but you can do it well enough. you are correct in saying that Jaquan Jackson and Nick Westbrook-Akina are different kinds of players. I understand that. But the best case scenario is that Jaquan Jackson becomes one of those guys well enough, even though from a stature perspective and a skill set perspective they are different. You have to find reasons beyond punt return to make him viable.
Yeah, can he do a job at all three positions? But he's the catch and run guy, right? That's where he flashed the most in training camp. So that's where he's different from Nick Westbrook-Akina. You'd love to see the opportunity for Jaquan Jackson to do some things in space, some yards after catch. Can he do with the ball in his hands? Whereas Nick Westbrook-Akina, at times for this team has been, oh my God, somebody just catch the football, right? And that's been
he's that guy.
NWI is that guy. But
let me just say, the bar is so damn low for what you have to produce as a Titans wide receiver that you should be able to achieve. Just catch the damn ball. Let's start there. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, but that's it. Jaquan Jackson, though, he's a fun player to see what you have in, right? Because with him, it's not just about that. Can he do a job at all three positions like a Nick Westbrook-Akina? But what more can we get out of that? What kind of big play ability can we flash with Jaquan Jackson that he was able to flash throughout the course of the preseason?
Well, and that's something that I would like to see. That's something that I guess I was hoping to see with him as a returner, that I don't think that, and I'm not absolving him totally, because I think that he can do some things better too as a returner. But I would like to see some creativity from him with the ball in his hands, because a lot of times you have him running side to side, and he just needs to get north to south on some of these returns. And then, once you get more comfortable, once you get more of a feel, once you get the rookie jitters out of your system and things like that, then maybe you get more comfortable putting some moves on people. Didn't he try a spin move in the Bills game to try and get out of a tackle? If I remember correctly, it didn't necessarily go
on a punt
that well. Yeah. But creativity with the ball in his hands. What can he give you beyond just the catch?
Yeah, he's catching punts. Right? Knock on wood. Right. He is catching punts.
Which, again, bar was low there. Kyle Phillips wasn't catching them. So let's get somebody, right? That's the whole Vrabel thing with Rand. Rand, go out and find somebody to catch the damn.
That'll catch the ball.
That'll catch the ball. So we have achieved that at least.
Did you know Kyle Phillips is on the Eagles practice squad?
I did.
Now?
Yep.
They scooped him up about a month ago.
Yep.
Jaquan Jackson has 18 punt returns this season for 148 yards, a long of 18. And a long kickoff return of 34.
He does not have a catch yet this season. He has not been a player that is involved in their offense yet this season. He has been exclusively a returner, so this would be something new. Now, listen, I want, it's not just to me about the players that they have at the receiver position. It's also about the coaching staff here. Because I know that they probably feel like they have one hand tied behind their back right now trying to figure out these problems, not because of the wide receivers, but because of the quarterback situation. But I also would like to see some creativity on how they get the wide receivers involved. Is it just going to be the screen passes to Jaquan instead of Calvin Ridley? Like, is that what we're going to try and do here? Or are you going to find different ways to get him involved? The problem solving of the coaching staff is also what's going to be scrutinized here, not just the players who are going to step up in the absence of Calvin Ridley. Theoretically, we'll see what determination is made on Calvin and DeAndre Hopkins.
Which was, not to keep bringing him up, but which was part of the evaluation process early on in Mike Vrabel's tenure, right? Even when things were bad from a personnel standpoint, you think back to that Week 2 game against Houston, 2018, Marcus Mariota out, Blaine Gabbert starting, offensive line decimated by injuries, and they found a way to win. They got creative on special teams with the fake punt to Dane Cruikshank, and that was kind of the first moment where you thought, okay, we might have something here with this coaching staff that can manufacture ways to win despite being at a serious personnel disadvantage. So that is part of we can have the discussion that he's handcuffed, so can we get a proper evaluation? But there is another side of that we've seen coaches in the past overcome that stuff to tell us, okay, these guys can coach football. Now let's get a good roster for them.
Yeah, because let me, because Titans fans understandably have fatigue about the Vrabel. Just the name, I'm sure they are fatigued on. So let me make it about an offensive play caller. Matt LaFleur won a game with Tyler Merritt's, Kevin Pomfield as their starting tackles and Blaine Gabbert at quarterback against a division opponent. I saw him do it with my own eyes. Otherwise, I wouldn't believe it. They also had special teams touchdowns in that game. They had Kevin Byard throwing a touchdown pass to Dane Cruikshank, but they've manufactured a way with less than ideal circumstances on the personnel front as an offensive play caller to win the game. I know Matt LaFleur to be a good head coach and also a good offensive play caller. Whatever Brian Callahan's judgments as a head coach. Let's make this about the play caller, okay? Because that right now is the crux of my issue. That the offensive staff is having problems beyond just the problems that the quarterback is making for them. And while I understand that is a very difficult thing to overcome, I have seen high-level offensive play callers overcome worse situations than Will Levis. And I like Blaine Gabbert personally, but we all know what Blaine was as an NFL player, especially when he arrived here. Like, that was a guy that was going to put you in bad situations, and you were going to have to figure out things around it. Now, Blaine had Derrick Henry in that game, if I remember correctly.
I think so, but
he also had Deion Lewis.
And it was before Derrick Henry emerged, because he emerged in the back half of that season with that Jacksonville performance and was a rocket ship from there. This was pre the Derrick Henry we know, the Derrick Henry that currently leads the NFL in rushing by a margin of over 200 yards.
It is so funny to hear people do revisionist history on that, because Derrick Henry wasn't Derrick Henry until basically halfway through 2019, which is crazy.
2018.
Yeah. Because that was the London game, and they finally got him in the end zone against the Chargers. I know they lost that game with the whole Tawan Taylor 2-point conversion thing, but whatever.
Speaking of LaFleur, I don't know if you've seen anything about this book written by Michael Silver. He wrote a book called The Why is Everything, A Story of Football, Rivalry, and Revolution. I heard him talking about it on Cover 2 with Blaine and Zach the other week. It's basically about Sean McVay, Shanahan, LaFleur, McDaniel, just this era of young coaches and how they're revolutionizing football and the way they all came up. And there is some really interesting stuff in there about the LaFleur-Vrabel dynamic in Tennessee, about how tenuous that was, the clash of styles, of personality, and how that was almost to a point where it was going to boil over if the Packers didn't swoop in and just solve the problem by hiring LaFleur.
Oh, I could have told you that. We saw it at practice.
Oh, sure. No, I know there were some
and I'm not taking anything
moments
away from Mike, but like, that was so real.
Yeah, but
you would walk out there and this was Vrabel's first year as a coach, so you understand that there was some head coach, so you understand that there was some growing pains as well. But the way that Mike talked to Matt in certain situations, and Vrabel like that with a lot of people. So it's not like that was specific treatment for that individual person. But I remember watching it had to have been a training camp practice or very, very early on that was still open to us, and seeing the dynamic between the two of them. Yeah. And just being like, whoa, why did this person agree to be this other person's offensive coordinator out after one beat the other one out for the head coaching job?
There was one really fascinating excerpt there that Zach showed me where when LaFleur took the job, I can't remember who the coach was that called him. That is a legendary figure in football. Oh, no, not a legend. It was Raheem Morris. Called
NFL legend. Wait respectfully to Raheem Morris. Good coach.
But Raheem Morris called LaFleur when he took the Titans job. I was like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? So there's some really interesting stuff there. Marcellus in the F&M Bank chat says, Brian Callahan has called winnable games. Levis has taken too long to get the ball out. He pats the ball inaccurate, loves to throw to the defense, and there is something to that. Brian Callahan has called some winnable games.
Yep.
Most notably the first two games of the season that were right there for the taking. They were right there for the Titans. So that is a part of this too.
The Lone Phoenix said, sure, you could have told us, but you never did. Lousy radioing journalism. I didn't have the radio show in 2018. I mean, you have to watch the primetime show, but that's okay.
That is my favorite kind of, I could have told you that. Then why didn't you?
We did. I think everybody did.
Sure, bud.
I mean, we could go back and find the primetime show. It exists on YouTube either way. So, coming up next, can we talk Vandy?
There is a very interesting statistic that favors Vanderbilt in this titanic matchup between the Commodores and the Texas Longhorns on Saturday.
That's next. Lake lovers, listen up. Tennessee National, a highly anticipated lakefront resort, golf, and marina community, is having a fall sales event releasing a limited number of lake lots to the public with upgrades and savings. One day only, Saturday, October 26th. You can get an outdoor living space upgrade plus 2 years free boat rental plus 2 years free social membership. You can also get $10,000 off a golf membership plus 50% savings off a brand new golf cart. Private golf cart access to a new marina and resort, 10 miles of walking trails, 3.5 miles of shoreline, a brand new 26,000 square foot clubhouse, waterfront concerts overlooking a beautiful lake, pickleball, pool, on-site coffee shop, and so much more. You can play on the lake or simply relax at the waterfront restaurant located conveniently just over 20 minutes from Knoxville, Tennessee. Financing is available, so call to secure your private tour. Times are limited. Enjoy life on the water, fresh air, boat rides, and sunshine. Celebrate the lake life and make memories with this limited property release Saturday, October 26th. Visit us at TennesseeNational.com, or better yet, give us a call, 865-408-9992. Memories begin here.
Vanderbilt hosts Texas on West End on Saturday.
Yeah.
Big game. Texas coming off the loss to Georgia.
Are you going to go?
I am not going to go. I am going to spend tomorrow doing nothing.
Oh, that's good for you.
And I can't wait.
Because soccer's done. You have high school football on Friday night. When's the last time you had a Saturday off?
It's been a while. Well, I was on vacation like 2 weeks ago, but it'll
vacation.
be my first off day in like 15 days. I'm looking forward to that. Yeah. This isn't about me. I can't wait to do nothing tomorrow and watch Vanderbilt, Texas from the comfort of my home. Big game, Vanderbilt undefeated at home. Before we get to the SEC stat of the day, a very interesting one by Seth Emerson of The Athletic. What is the point spread looking like for the Commodores?
The Commodores right now are 18.5-point underdogs at home to the Texas Longhorns, who just experienced their first loss of the season. But I saw a lot of smart people smarter than me, taking Vandy plus 18.5.
Nobody walks out of that construction site in one piece. Where are your hard hats?
Again, except for the goalpost.
Where are your hard hats?
Walk the goalpost out in one piece.
So Seth Emerson of The Athletic wrote an article about one specific stat, and that is sudden change margin. Buck, do you know what sudden change margin is?
I would like to be educated on it.
So we all know what turnover margin is. Essentially, it is simply points off turnovers. How many points do you score off of turnovers? How many points do you give up off of turnovers that you committed? Vanderbilt is number one in the SEC in sudden change margin.
No.
At plus 41. They also lead the SEC in turnover margin at plus 6. It's been a big reason for Vanderbilt's successful start to the season. But here's the thing. They're not forcing tons of turnovers on defense. They're averaging 1.1 turnovers forced per game defensively. That's bottom 3 in the SEC, but they are taking care of the football. It's what the offense is doing. Also, when the defense does force a turnover. Diego Pavia has 1 interception this year. He's taking care of the ball. When Vanderbilt's defense does come up with a turnover, Vanderbilt makes them pay. Against Alabama, 13 points off of turnovers, including an early pick 6 in that game. Pretty massive stat for a game that you win 40-35 at home against Alabama. 13 points off of turnovers. So, major key in this game. Can Vanderbilt turn Texas over and then take advantage of it? I will add that was a huge problem for Texas against Georgia last Saturday. In the first half alone, Texas gave up 17 points off of turnovers in that game on their way to trailing 23-0 to Georgia at halftime. Now, Texas's defense leads the SEC in interceptions with 10. So that'll be tested. Diego Pavia has only thrown 1 pick all year. He goes up against a defense that has forced 10. But Vanderbilt only turned Alabama over twice in that upset win. They made them pay both times. That could be the key here for Vanderbilt against this Texas offense. You'd like to see them force a few more turnovers than they are when you look at this stat, because if this Vanderbilt defense can notch up those takeaways, it's exciting to think about what this offense can do when they run with it, which is something they've been doing all season.
I love that college football teams have to do availability reports now. I just feel like it gives you so much better of a grasp on what's going to happen. And they did have some players, Vandy did, that are still listed as questionable but missed the Ball State game, so they, for the most part, they are expected to play. Save Colby Taylor seems like the biggest player in question right now. He's dealing with a back injury, according to that latest Thursday report. So the thing about Vanderbilt that has been the most impressive, beyond just Pavia, because Pavia is a part of it, right? He's got the attitude, the mentality, and the execution. They have been the more physical team in a lot of these SEC games that makes you feel, or in these early SEC games that makes you feel like, okay, they got some juice. Do you know what their all-time record against Texas is?
I heard Will talking about it this morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, that they have not played each other in almost 100 years.
Yeah. Would you still like to guess?
I bet it's pretty good. Vanderbilt was pretty good 100 years ago.
Vandy is 8-3-1 all-time against Texas, which is crazy. I understand it's 100 years ago, but still, this is pretty crazy to think about.
We're talking about like the roaring 20s
1928. That's correct. 1928. Dan McGuinn, the coach of the Vanderbilt Commodores, when the series was discontinued. So Quinn Ewers is the interesting part here because he was benched in the loss to Georgia. Arch Manning came in. It's not like it was perfect with Arch, or
it didn't last long.
Better with Arch, right? Ewers later came back into the game because the turnovers is what was killing Texas in that game at home. Which, by the way, it makes me appreciate that Kirby post-game comment so much more when he's saying the stuff about we're not here for pictures, and I see all the stuff of Texas putting on the golden 10-gallon hats and things like that in the locker room and all the different things, because Texas is very much they have earned the right to say that they are back. There is no, I take no issue with that.
Yep,
nor Miami. They're legit, both of them. They have waited a long, long time to say it. They have earned that right. But there is still some, pomp and circumstance to Texas there that they have not yet earned beyond just being back, which I enjoy seeing, like everybody does. You like seeing people like that fall down and trip every once in a while.
3:15 kickoff at First Bank Stadium tomorrow. The game will be on SEC Network. Ranked matchup. Number 25 Vanderbilt hosting number 5 Texas. The health of Diego Pavia is important in this one. He was not 100% against Ball State last week. But look, Vanderbilt's done nothing but rise to the level of their competition. They lost to Georgia State. That's a really tough loss when you look at it now, right? This is a team that should be 6-1.
It makes you sad.
Right. And you can make an art that is a couple plays away, literally 2 plays away from being undefeated. I mean, think about that. Vanderbilt could be easily 7-0 with a heartbreaking overtime loss against Mizzou and that road loss to Georgia State where they gave up a touchdown on that last drive after taking a late lead. But all that aside, 5-2 Vanderbilt. Their next win will make them bowl eligible, and they host Texas. Should be fun. I wouldn't say it's the biggest game in the SEC because there are 2 undefeated teams in SEC play left, and that's LSU and Texas A&M. LSU is at A&M tomorrow night at 6:30.
That place is going to be rocking.
Top 15 matchup there for the winner to take sole hold of the top of the SEC standings going into next week. It's crazy to
think about the discourse that we were having around Brian Kelly early on and the way that, to his credit, that they've figured it out. Like, I know Brian Kelly gets a lot of grief.
Turns out,
deservedly so. He is a good coach. LSU fans may not be completely satisfied with the experience, but there is still a lot to like there because he's going to give you a chance to compete at the top of the conference every year, as far as I'm concerned, especially in this year's SEC. It's a mess. Now, quickly, just on Vanderbilt, Aria Gerson of the Tennessean, who does a great job covering them, and I've only just now realized that because we've only just now started paying attention to Vanderbilt coverage. No disrespect to Aria, but disrespect to Vanderbilt, understandably so.
Well, she does a great job on baseball, too, and across all levels.
Yes, I should have said specific to football coverage. But Vanderbilt is one of 2 teams in the country that has played 4 or more games as a betting underdog, and they are perfect against the spread. They have won 3 of those games outright. Virginia Tech, Bama, Kentucky. The third was the double overtime loss to Missouri with the kicking situation that undid them. Do you want to say free money about Vanderbilt? Do you want to redeem yourself?
Nope, not prepared for. Oh, you're saying for Vanderbilt?
I'm giving you the chance to make it right.
Vandy to cover?
Yes.
Oh, Vandy plus 18.5. Free money.
Clip it. Clip it now. What is Vanderbilt's rank? Right, Austin B on YouTube, where you can interact with the chat, or you can also call us 615-737-1045. Austin B on YouTube. What is Vandy's rank if they are undefeated right now? That is a fascinating question.
Oh, they're a top 15 team. I mean,
for certain.
Yeah, they're a top 15 team.
If they were undefeated in this year's SEC, you would have a really interesting discussion on your hands. Now, unfortunately, that's not a hypothetical that we are going to be able to entertain, but good for Vandy, man. It's just exciting to see legitimate football for the first time in a couple of years, right? The James Franklin. Oh, we didn't talk about the James Franklin stuff yesterday.
Yeah, well, that's a whole thing.
I want to separate that from Vanderbilt as much as possible because that's not fair to do to Vandy. Anyway,
no, it's not.
Most interesting college football playoff scenario of the season. We'll tell you what it is.
We've got great restaurants, entertainment, sports, and one of the nation's top Ford dealers right here in our backyard. Two Rivers Ford. Remember that name. Two Rivers has been a staple in our community since 1983. They're locally owned. They have a non-commissioned sales team, and they sell below MSRP. They've been doing business with integrity for decades. Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer.
It is 11:01. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone studios. I'm Lucas Panzica. The Rams beat the Vikings on Thursday Night Football 30-20 with Matt Stafford throwing for 4 touchdown passes. The Vikings had the ball late, down 8 points, but Sam Darnold was brought down in his own end zone by Byron Young with a face mask, but it was not called as the Rams got the safety and walked out with a 10-point victory to improve to 3-4. The Vikings drop to 5-2. The Titans travel to Detroit to take on the Lions on Sunday. Wide receiver Calvin Ridley did not practice Thursday with a foot injury. Corner L'Jarius Sneed did not practice with a quad. Will Levis was a limited participant with a shoulder injury, and Mason Rudolph likely will get the start in Detroit on Sunday. Around NFL news, the Miami Dolphins have announced that quarterback Tua Tagovailoa will start Week 8 against the Arizona Cardinals as he has cleared concussion protocol. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Second hour is upon us. Welcome into 104.5 The Zone. Happy Friday. We're happy to have you. Before we get into the college football playoff scenario, that is the most interesting one of the season so far that has been posed, because we're creeping closer and closer to the college football playoff selection committee actually telling you what the rankings are instead of just looking at the AP every Sunday morning and be like, oh, okay, this will matter for another week until it doesn't. I feel like we should give a shout out to all the people that have fed us this week. We have come in here every day for the last 5 days, and there has been basically breakfast, lunch, and dinner provided to us by all manner of great partners that we have on the radio station. Lucas, how many plates of food would you say total across now day 5, because I know you're not done, how many total plates of food have you consumed?
Too many to count. Too many to count.
I saw you do 4 within just 1 hour.
Yeah.
The other day.
Famous Dave's, IHOP, Dunkin' Donuts. It's been a fantastic week. Fantastic.
Maybe not
week.
the healthiest week in the show's history, but an excellent week. So thank you very much to all the great partners who continue to allow us to stuff our faces around here. Anyway, college football playoff scenario of the season that is most interesting. Now, you told me that you were rooting against the Hoosiers this weekend, and I demand to know why, because you finally got me to watch them. Now I want to know why you want to crush my dreams.
We'll get to that.
Other than the fun of crushing my dreams.
But as we talk about college football playoff implications, there's one game I'm looking at. Now, there's a couple teams playing elimination games. Alabama is one. They host Missouri this weekend. By the way, you can hear that game right here on 104.5 The Zone. Westwood One college football coverage starting at 2. That game will kick off at 2:30. There are some elimination games happening this weekend, but I want to talk about Notre Dame visiting undefeated 24th ranked Navy. Your Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Buck.
Famously.
An 11 a.m. kickoff at Mighty Navy. Now, the most interesting college football playoff scenario of the season is this. Navy is undefeated.
How many times are you going to burp in this segment?
I'm
how
not
many
burping,
How many
man.
pastries did you eat?
Just one.
That's a giant pastry that I see next to you. That's at least 2 pastries.
One that could be considered 2.
Okay.
Navy is undefeated. Army is undefeated. Been a long time since both of those teams started the season 6-0. They both still have to play Notre Dame. Navy will play Notre Dame this weekend. But if Navy and Army both beat Notre Dame and finish the regular season undefeated, they will likely meet in the conference championship game, the American Athletic Conference Championship game. Conference championship weekend, of course, is the Saturday before Selection Sunday. It is Saturday, December 7th. So they would play each other on that Saturday. The winner, likely, would be in the 12-team college football playoff as an undefeated Group of 5 conference champion. Now, maybe they would need Boise State to slip up against UNLV, which is tonight in Vegas. Maybe they would need some other things to happen. But the winner, undefeated American Athletic Conference champ, would probably be in, which would be announced Sunday, December 8th. And then they play each other in the Army-Navy game Saturday, December 14th.
3HL is going to have so much fun at that.
Are you kidding me?
This plays out.
All the dynamics here of having just played each other for a conference title game, one team potentially getting to the playoff, the other being left out, and then the team that is in the playoff essentially gets one less week of preparation and rest for the college football playoff in order to play the Army-Navy game. Now, that game's going to carry as much meaning as it always does, right? Both teams can have won 2 games that year, and that game is like the Super Bowl. That's why it's so awesome. But that is such a fascinating scenario. And along the way, of course, they would both have to beat Notre Dame, which would mean Notre Dame, of course, would be eliminated. If Notre Dame loses at Navy this weekend, Notre Dame will be eliminated. In fact, I've been looking as we get deeper and deeper into the season and trying to build kind of a rooting guide for Tennessee fans, right? Let's say the Vols do drop one to Georgia and they finish 10-2, because we all act like that's 10-2 in the SEC you're in. Don't know if it's that simple.
Not these days.
In fact, I had a buddy. We'll call him Jay. And he called
me. Is he
me.
also miserable because they signed his favorite NFL team just signed a 30-year-old running back to a 2-year contract extension while not rebuilding?
Yeah, it's not made any easier by the fact that he loves Alvin Kamara as a Tennessee fan. But yeah, the state of the Saints are ruining his. But we'll call him Jay.
Okay. Hi, Jay.
He called me 3 a.m., dead of the night the other day.
No, he did not.
Because he woke up in a cold sweat.
Actually, he called you at 3 a.m.?
With a nightmare scenario. He calls me. He says, Lucas, this has been keeping me up all week. I can't stop thinking about this situation. If Tennessee is to go 10-2 with the loss to Georgia, what if Notre Dame wins out? Oregon goes into the Big Ten championship game undefeated and loses to Ohio State, who then becomes the Big Ten champion with 1 loss to Oregon from the regular season. Penn State and Indiana finish the season 11-1 with their 1 loss being to eventual Big Ten champion Ohio State. Miami goes into the ACC championship game undefeated but loses to Clemson, who wins the ACC and gets in while winning out and finishing the season with 1 loss as a conference champ. And then the Big 12 championship game has to be played between a maybe undefeated Iowa State and an undefeated BYU. So you have an undefeated Big 12 champ and a 1-loss Big 12 team with their 1 loss coming in a conference championship game.
Jay's nightmare is making me smile bigger and bigger as this proceeds.
That would mean Notre Dame, 4 Big 10 schools, 2 ACC schools, the Group of 5 champion, and the Big 12 champion, and possibly the loser of the Big 12 championship game in the college football playoff. That means 10 playoff resumes, and we haven't even gotten to the SEC yet. And I said, oh my God. Oh my God. That is terrifying. That is terrifying.
Spooky even.
Because the winner of the SEC obviously gets in. And look, the SEC is going to get multiple teams in. This is like, we're not going to have, the SEC is the most take your ball and go home caliber conference in this thing. So they're going to get their teams in. But that is a spooky scenario because as you look around, yeah, Tennessee could be 10-2, but LSU and A&M are still undefeated in conference play. Texas still has just 1 loss. Alabama could feasibly win out and go 10-2. I know you beat Alabama in the head-to-head, but it's all a part of this. And it's very, very scary because there could be multiple 2-loss SEC teams. And that's not even counting the conference champion and whoever loses in the SEC championship game.
Were you scribbling this down at the same time at 3 a.m. as Jay was calling you? Let's call him Jay.
I never went back to sleep. I was laid awake and I couldn't stop thinking about it. So that is the reason, Buck, that I have decided to hell with the Indiana Hoosiers. And Taven Jackson, if he truly is a VFL, is going to throw 3 picks on Saturday.
Tanks it against Washington when College Game Day appears in Bloomington for the first time ever.
That's right. And embarrass your Hoosiers against Mississippi State legend Will Rogers and the Washington Huskies for that 11 a.m. kickoff on Big Ten Network tomorrow.
If you, as a Tennessee fan, the 2 of you, if Indiana makes the inaugural 12-team college playoff and Tennessee does not,
my nightmare.
And I just watched an Indiana football game for the first time in my life this past Saturday just to be able to gloat over Will Compton if they beat them. They did, belt to ass. You 2 may have to leave the radio show.
Lucas has to wear Kentucky gear next week.
Yes, he does.
No, I won that bet.
No, you didn't.
No, you didn't, buddy.
No, you
sure
didn't.
did.
No, you didn't. I look forward to you spending an entire week in Kentucky blue and white. I don't know what I'd do because I don't really care. So it would be a little hollow, but damned if I won't make it feel like it's real. Oh, buddy, you better pray that your boy Taven Jackson, because Curtis Rourke, the Indiana quarterback, if you're not familiar, had a thumb injury that's going to require surgery, knocked him out of the Nebraska game. Taven Jackson played a little bit because it was a blowout against Nebraska. But that's real. I mean, Curtis Rourke, a good player so far in college football. The Ohio transfer helping Indiana be a big part of this. I don't know if their offense is going to survive without him or not. I wouldn't pretend to know that much about Indiana football, but you better wear Washington Huskies gear or be rooting them on or singing their fight song or something, because I will feast on your tears.
What's their mascot?
They don't have one.
They're the Huskies.
No,
Washington?
Washington is. Yeah, Washington's the Huskies.
Washington is the Huskies.
Go Huskies.
Go Huskies. Oh, I thought you were asking Indiana. Indiana doesn't actually have a mascot.
Like a physical mascot.
There is
Y'all
no,
the Hoosiers.
We are the Hoosiers, but there is no person. It's just a bunch of drunk kids in candy sweatpants. That is a Hoosier.
I imagine a big thing of corn, but that's Nebraska.
Yeah, that's Nebraska.
And they got shucked.
So Tennessee may not be playing this Saturday, but the stakes are high, Tennessee fans. Here is your rooting guide. It is for Navy to upset Notre Dame at home.
So you want me to lose twice this weekend?
It is for Washington to beat Indiana on the road. And in the exhibition game, maybe on the basketball court against Tennessee. It is for Oklahoma to upset Ole Miss on the road in Oxford. It would help. Oregon, if you want to blow out Illinois at home, that'd be great. Go ahead and hand them their second loss so we don't have to talk about them, I suppose. That probably doesn't really matter. But those are the main three games to lay out your rooting guide for this Saturday in college football. And Vandy, why don't you go ahead and upset Texas? Wouldn't mind that either.
Oh, America should be praying on Texas's downfall this weekend, for not just because they don't like Texas, but for Vanderbilt. It should be all horns down all the time, all across this nation.
Because we shouldn't be shocked if LSU wins at A&M. LSU can win out. They can finish the year. They could beat Alabama at home, finish the year with 11 straight wins and a berth in the SEC championship game.
What is the conversation going to be like on Kalen DeBoer if Alabama doesn't or keeps losing games? I know there's not a ton of games that they would lose here left on the schedule, but it's not like they're just going to breeze, right?
Also, A&M.
Yeah.
If they win at home against LSU Saturday, you're telling me they couldn't win out and beat Texas at home in the regular season finale? There is absolutely a scenario where that happens. Things are going to get chaotic in this thing. Who says the 12-team playoff took away the importance of the regular season?
Would you like to do a friendly wager, buddy?
Yeah.
So Indiana and Tennessee, if Indiana makes the playoffs and Tennessee does not, me and Lucas have to shave our heads. Let's run it back from the Gator Bowl.
Lucas?
No.
Oh, come on.
My woman will leave me.
No, she won't.
She's 9 hours
She will
away.
leave me. She will leave me. I see her.
Is she going to leave you over FaceTime?
I see her every.
That would be funny.
I see her all the time.
Takes her to
Okay?
Italy, proposes to her. It's beautiful. It's scenic. It's well thought out. It's planned. It's tasteful. All of it, and she breaks up with him over FaceTime.
If she comes to Nashville in 2 weeks and my head is shaved,
It won't be shaved by then.
It won't be.
Your hair
This
will
would
grow
be
back.
January.
okay.
Are you worried that it won't grow back? Because that was my concern. Because the last time that Indiana and Tennessee played head-to-head, famously, I lost a bet to David Reed of the Midday 180, and I had to shave my head. If I was willing to do it, you should not be a coward.
I'll do it.
Jackson will do it. Sorry if I awakened any BVS and any folks with that
It
segment.
sounds like it awakened you in the middle of the night at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Did he actually call you at 3 a.m.?
No, he didn't. He just sent me a very long text message, though.
At 3 a.m.?
No.
Oh, my God. I was going to Jay. Seek help, brother.
He and I will be watching the games tomorrow, rooting against your Hoosiers.
People don't believe that Jay is real. People think that you're Jay.
I'm schizophrenic now. You've met Jay.
Coach Mack's next. Rain-X Premium Silicone Advantage wiper blades are engineered to withstand the most extreme conditions. Their wiper blades last 2 times longer than traditional wipers, and for a limited time, you can save $16 per pair on Rain-X Silicone Advantage wiper blades at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Plus, get 2 times O Rewards points. And when you purchase the blades with O'Reilly, their professional parts people will install them for free. They are also celebrating the 25th anniversary of the famous O'Reilly Auto Parts jingle. They want you to be a part of the celebration. They want you to submit a cover of the jingle, a remix, or your own choreographed dance. I think every show on the station has done it. They are all equally terrible, so the bar is very, very low. So you can submit your own. You can check ours out on the Zone social media channels, and you can get the opportunity to win exclusive merch and prizes, including 3 $5,000 grand prize winners from O'Reilly Auto Parts. Submit your video to O'ReillyJingleContest.com now through October 31st. Terms and conditions do apply. No purchase necessary. Welcome back to the show. We are fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. Coach Dave McGinnis of Titans Radio is fueled by Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. They keep Mac on the road. They keep me on the road. They keep so many other Middle Tennesseans in those quality American-made Ford vehicles with award-winning customer service. Mac, how we living?
Hey, Buck, I'm doing good. Yeah, I just walked into the bubble off the practice field so I could visit with you guys for a little bit. My Two Rivers Ford, I'm glad the air conditioning works perfect because it's warm out there today.
It is, certainly, and that it sounds like it's going to continue through the week. When's the last time Middle Tennessee had rain? We're not here to do a weather report with Mac, but still.
Coach Mac, what's the worst weather town you ever coached in?
That's a good one.
Weather town, Chicago.
Oh, yeah. Probably should have guessed that one.
Yeah, well, no, it's Chicago. I mean, and plus we only had one practice field, and so starting about the beginning of October, we had to go get those butane heaters that they used at O'Hare Airport to take the ice off of the runway and blow them under a tarp because we only had one grass field, and so that it wouldn't freeze. But then the tarp would freeze when we'd pull it off, and so it was really nice.
I just can't imagine, Mac, like how somebody like you who has seen football through the decades, again, not to age you, but like how much different the experience is now for players, coaches, for organizations than it was when you and Coach Dick and those great staffs, and obviously even through your time at Arizona, just how much different the National Football League is today.
No, it's a different world. I mean, free agency, the salary cap changed it all, but I mean, those Bear teams, those great Bear teams. I mean, first year I was there, we were 14-2. And I went, hell, this is easy. I mean, what's so hard about the National Football League? But we had dudes. We had one practice field, and that grass, and then we had no grass by the time the middle of October came. So that was it. We finally got a bubble. I'm sitting in this nice bubble now that came off of a New Jersey construction site that had diesel stains on the top of it, but it was not climate controlled. So that when we put it up there, and it wasn't even. We had to drive. Everybody had to load up in their cars and the pickups to drive about 15 miles to it. So not quite like what we have now.
So, Mac, with where things are at with the football team, and you understand, the circumstance and why business decisions start to get made once things I'm not going to say out of hand, but once things start to trend in the wrong direction, you have to make some tough decisions, and that's obviously what this organization has done this week. But I know you've spent plenty of time answering questions about the players that they've traded away. I want to ask you what you think we can find out about this Titans wide receiver core without DeAndre Hopkins, because it remains to be seen, and we'll hear from Brian Callahan before the end of the show about Calvin Ridley's determination. I know he hadn't practiced at least 2 days this week, and I know they're back out there now. But what do you think that we can learn about a group of unproven guys, given that Hop's gone, Ridley is injured, and Treylon Burks is on injured reserve?
Well, they get a chance to play. I mean, that's all that they can ask for. I mean, and sitting here at 1-5, and I don't really like to just put it as business decisions, because it's still people, and you're still dealing with people's careers, your career too. All of these decisions are made, but it's a proper way that you have to handle it. To your question about the other guys, they get a chance to play, because that's what you're looking for, and that's the only way that you're ever going to be able to either progress or you're able to prove that you can't play, is to get out there and do it. So, to your point, you've got a lot of guys in that receiver core now that, as the way the circumstances have unfolded, are going to get a chance to play. So we'll see. We'll find out. I mean, this going against this football team up there in Detroit, probably one of the best, if not the best team in the NFC right now, and for good reason. I mean, they put together a really good football team on both sides of the football, so you're going to get to find out pretty quick.
We were talking to a lot of offensive players, and again, no official determination has been made on the quarterback yet either for Tennessee, who will be starting at Detroit. But Brian Callahan did hint at the idea that they might give Will Levis another week. So Mason Rudolph is obviously somebody who we talked to on top of Levis this week. It was interesting talking to a lot of the vet guys in the locker room, Mac, about Mason Rudolph and just the level of calm that an experienced player can bring. And it's also interesting to kind of look at that juxtaposed with Levis, because Levis has to get more experience. You have to obviously give him opportunities to grow and learn and develop. But, Mason Rudolph wasn't the most level-headed individual when he came into the league either, famously. And to see the transformation of that should be encouraging for Levis or Titans fans who are looking at the quarterback position and saying, you don't have to start a certain kind of way to become a more polished version of the player over the course of time. Mason Rudolph is a great example of that.
He's a great example of it. The guy we're playing, that I was involved in the draft process when we took Jared Goff #1 with the trade, back in 2016 with the Titans. I mean, he's not the same player that he was, when we drafted him. He went through, he sat behind Case Keenum for a while, out there, and then we all know what his journey is. And to your point, look, not only football players, but I think all of us, as we grow up and mature and get some life experiences, our attitudes change towards a lot of things, not only the way we approach things, but the way we handle our business. And so what have I always said, and it's true, and it's not just me, but I learned quick. You can't manufacture the experience. To your point, I think it's very well taken.
Coach Dave McGinnis is with us. Titans Radio on the call in Detroit. Noon, the kickoff against the Lions. You can hear it right here on 104.5 The Zone. Speaking of timetables for maturity, Mac, how long do you think it's going to take us as a radio show to mature? What is your professional evaluation on that? Because we're still working on that, it feels like.
Well, but you guys have matured a lot since you came in. When both of you first started it, and especially when you started it together, neither one of you knew whether you were foot or horseback. You've gotten a lot better.
It's a fair evaluation.
I don't know that that's changed a ton, Coach.
Yeah, I don't think it's gotten appreciably better, but just the fact that we are manageable at this point.
We're still seeing what we got.
Yeah.
So with Mason Rudolph, Coach, like Buck said, it's not official that he starts. Brian Callahan has said they're leaning that way, but Mason told Titans media, he told everybody that he learned on Saturday before the Buffalo game that he would start. So what can a week with a larger share of reps with the first team do for a guy like Mason Rudolph in preparation for the Lions game, as he has gotten more time with the ones this week?
Well, you said it. You said the phrase that you use, major share of the reps. That's the key thing. I mean, that's the key thing, really. For anybody. Because game plans change week to week, and and at the quarterback position, you've got specific things, and plus, all the quarterbacks I've ever dealt with when I was in decision-making processes, you always sit down with the quarterback that's going to play and ask him, what do you like, what don't you like, what you like during the week, what you don't, what didn't you like during the week, after we look at tape, and then we sit down and everybody goes over with their quarterbacks before the game, not just the day of the game, but before the game. Finally, when the week has gone through, what have you liked, what don't you like? So in that process, I mean, it absolutely helps, and it helps when you get the reps. I mean, unless you're a very, very seasoned veteran, unless you are physically unable. It never hurts you to get some practice, because game plans change. You may be going with some basic solids that you do all the time, but game plans change week to week. That's what this league is. So to your question, it helps.
You mentioned obviously being with the Rams organization. I know you've talked about that, not just here, Mac, but on a variety of different platforms this week, about drafting Jared Goff and the process that it took him and the different route that it took him ultimately to become. I mean, he's one of the favorites to win the NFL MVP this year. He's been truly excellent, as has that Lions offense as a whole. So many different ways that they can beat you. Jameson Williams obviously going to miss this game and the next with a suspension, according to the performance-enhancing drug policy that was reported earlier in the week. But without Jameson Williams in the lineup, they still have so many different weapons, whether it's the running game, the two running backs in particular, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Laporta, that hasn't really been much of a factor in their offense just yet, but there's only one football to go around.
Yeah, well, no, you're saying the right thing. And the other thing, don't leave out the component. I think they've got the best offensive line in the league right now. And that's a huge part of it. But the two running backs, the two Montgomery, and Gibbs, those two guys are the run game. This generates off the run game, and Jared Goff and this offense have benefited greatly from that. And then so they're very creative. And Jared Goff, we vetted he against Carson Wentz coming out. I mean, that was involved in that whole process, just as Rand was, just like the guys that are running the Lions. They were there with us at the same time. And the final decision on that, Buck, came down to the fact that Wentz was probably the better overall athlete, but Jared Goff was a pure thrower of the football. And once he's developed, I mean, he's always had a really, really nice natural thrower of the football, and he's always been accurate. And so as he's grown into that position, but now he's they put together a team that they started building it from the front back, and they built it. So I don't think you can even talk about the success of this offense unless you really dig down to the core of it, which is that offensive line, which, as I say, if it's not the best, it's in the top three in the league. That allows them to gen a lot of things when they're calling plays.
Coach, not sure if we're going to see Jerome Baker after acquiring him in a trade with the Seahawks at linebacker in Detroit, but whether or not he plays, what is that process of bringing a player in at that position and trying to integrate him as quickly as possible to get him on the field?
Yeah, well, that's a quick turnaround for him, but he's been with Frank Bush before. Frank had him when he was a rookie at Miami, and this defense he's coming from Mike McDonald. I mean, he and Denard, just worked together last year at Baltimore, so some of the things will be similar, but, getting somebody in, that quickly from that distance, if you do use him, you would probably just spot use him. But you try to get him, you have to get him integrated as quickly as possible, and you do. But the fact that he is a veteran player and he does have some familiarity, not only with the coaching staff and the coach in particular that will be working with him. The Titans brought him in during free agency and had him visit, so they've been interested in him for a while. So we'll see how fast they can get him going. But you start the process, as soon as he gets over the travel and the jet lag and all that stuff coming from clear where he did, you start the process pretty quick.
To the untrained eye, Mac, it feels like there's a little less redundancy now whenever Baker gets on the field with Kenneth Murray and however long that takes, and obviously that Gibbons will play some and there will be different kind of personnel usages that they have. But is there a little less redundancy between the two off-ball linebackers with Baker and Murray? Because it felt like Ernest Jones and Kenneth Murray had a lot of similarities to their game.
Yeah, well, Baker. I mean, I'm hearing coming out of Ohio State. I think that I just looked at when I found out that that's who we were bringing in here. I went back and looked at my combine and draft notebook for that year. Had him as about a third round or a fourth round pick, but he's a good space player. And I thought that he had the requisite skills that it took to play. And if you were comparing the two, if you're going to play besides Murray. Right now, Murray's a bigger thumper guy. This guy is a good space player, but he's also an instinctive guy. So that's kind of my take on it right now. We'll see how they work together when and if that happens.
Just to kind of take it back to a different kind of personnel acquisition, Mac, Callahan and Dan Campbell have been very complimentary of one another, understandably so. But Callahan kind of brought up the Lions as the blueprint for how to build a team. And obviously this is a team that is looking to continue to build or try and build towards a greater form of success in future seasons. That they got panned, not universally, but there was some heat from pundits, we'll say, about their draft class their first round picks 2 years ago, where they took a running back in Jahmyr Gibbs and a linebacker in Jack Campbell. Those two players are critical to their success, and I think it's just such a good example of how far the gap can be between people who talk about football for a living and people who are actually tasked with putting together football teams. Because that just, to me, and I know that was like some of the finishing touches, they were already a good roster. They were just trying to fill in some pieces and parts. But that, to me, that screams of a team that knows what it wants to be, and it doesn't matter what necessarily the opportunity cost on two players that may not be considered premium positions in the first round were.
Well, you're correct, and that was the finishing touches. The first thing they got panned for, to use your descriptive term, was Penei Sewell, if you'll remember that.
Yeah.
You remember that draft when they first went in there. I mean, there were people like, but look, I mean, Rand Carthon and Brad Holmes and Ray Agnew, they were all together. We were all together at the Rams, putting that thing together when we all got to the Rams together, following when they'd been the previous 5 seasons before we got there. They had been 15-65. Now, that wasn't a very good roster. Had some pieces, but, you started building, and they know exactly what they're doing. I mean, they know what they're doing, and you're right. I mean, you can't really worry about anybody else's opinion, because there's going to be opinions, plus and minus, no matter what you do, but you got to have a plan, and you've got to work it. They've done a very good job of it, and the thing that flipped their rebuild quickly is that coincidentally both teams were ready to give up on their first round pick quarterback that had been there for a while. You flipped it, and all of a sudden, Brad Holmes and Ray Agnew are looking at 2 1s, 2 2s, and 2 3s. Now you can go to work, off of not 2 first years that they were picking fairly high in the draft.
He's Coach Dave McGinnis of Titans Radio. He and the rest of the crew are on the call in Detroit. Noon the kickoff, 9 a.m. is when the coverage starts on Sunday. You can hear all of it on the Titans Radio Network, in particular here on 104.5 The Zone. Mac, thank you as always, and safe travels. I'll see you in the booth on Sunday, buddy.
We will see you in Detroit. Buck Lucas, tell me your game you got. What are you doing?
Big game, Coach. Undefeated Ravenwood against undefeated Oakland.
Ooh.
Big-time prospects on both sides, so headed to Murfreesboro for that one. So we'll be doing that game on TV. Will's going to be there doing it on the Zone, too. A lot of eyes on Oakland Ravenwood tonight.
Yeah, I talked to Will when I did their show, so you guys got it covered. That's great. See you guys. Thanks.
See you, Coach.
That's the main man, Mac. His visit's presented by Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. 615-737-1045, how you can join the conversation if you are inclined to do so. Listen, there's not a lot of, understandably, there's not a lot of people giving the Titans the chance to win a football game in Detroit. We put it to a poll at Buck Rising. We'll update the polls at the end of the show. I'm certain that many of you are looking at that poll and laughing at us and being like, what are you even asking if the Titans have a percentage chance to win in Detroit? It's going to be fascinating to see how they try and do it, though. Because just because you think they're dead in the water, and the season feels a little dead in the water. So did it last year, and they still found a way to win Miami to give this thing a little bit of juice, a little bit of hope, and a little bit of promise. Now, you don't want to buy too much into hope and promise, right? Will Levis is not the quarterback that's starting, so that's a different conversation. But sometimes you can convince yourself in your head when you see too much good or too much good after so much bad, where you're like, all right, Will Levis, we can make that work next year. We'll try it. That's not a one-to-one example, but you get my point. I am fascinated to see how this coaching staff tries to problem solve against one of the best teams in football. This to me is not about, it is about the players on the field. It's always about the players on the field. But to me, as far as the scale of the season and future seasons go, I want to see them come up with as competent a game plan as humanly possible to at least cover the 12 and a half, the 11 and a half that they're currently projected as underdogs right now, depending on which sports books that you look at. That is what Sunday to me is about. Can you keep yourself in this game rather than give yourself a first half, then throw your hands up in the second half and be like, penalties and the defense gave up scoring drives on every possession in the second half.
Yeah. No, for sure.
That's what this is about to me.
And Titans fans, many are already in lose-out mode, right? Get the number one pick. But a result like that, getting blown out back-to-back weeks on the road like that, that could be more damaging. That could be more damaging to the culture and what you're trying to build in that locker room with the first-year coach. So you got to stay in this game. You have to stay in this game through the fourth quarter, in my mind.
Coming up next, Friday Fire, we have things to give away.
Yes. Tickets to see Kevin Hart at the Pinnacle, April 13th, 2025.
What is the Pinnacle? I'm unfamiliar with the Pinnacle.
We were talking about this the other day.
I've never heard of that venue.
Yeah, I also don't know.
Okay, anyway, if you want to see Kevin...
It's new. It's a new concert venue.
Oh, wait, is that the new thing that they're building in the Nashville Yards, the thing in the Gulch? I think that might be right. Anyway, regardless where it is, you'll know when you get the tickets. You have the opportunity to win.
Yeah.
It's the new Nashville Yards venue?
Nashville Yards.
Very cool. So that'll be one of the first shows that's performed in the Nashville Yards new concert venue. 615-737-1045. In order to give yourself a chance to win those tickets, you got to give us some positivity. You got to make us feel good on this Friday. You got to give us your Friday Fire. That's next. That's right. 615-737-1045. The number. Give us your Friday fire. Time to be a little positive. It can be hard when the football team or the hockey team or any of your other teams are terrible. That's okay. Something good still happened to you this week. I know that it did, but I don't know specifically what happened to you this week, which is why you're going to tell us for the opportunity to win 2 tickets to Kevin Hart at the brand new or soon to be brand new concert venue here in Nashville, the Pinnacle, which will be really, really cool in the Nashville Yards over there just down the road from, not even down the road from us, like across the street from us in the Gulch. My Friday fire, I have 2. My primary Friday fire, though, is Jim Wyatt. Jim Wyatt is going into the Tennessee Sports Writers Hall of Fame. And they broke this news to him. This was courtesy of the official Titans podcast, yes, Jackson?
Yes.
All right, let's hear Mike Keith and Amy Wells breaking the news to the best among us, Jimmy Wyatt.
We want to congratulate Jim Wyatt on being inducted into the Tennessee Sports Writers Association Hall of Fame.
Look at you.
We got a cake.
Oh, what a great
there you
honor. I appreciate this.
You have been an absolute top 5 pick for us. I mean, it is 35 years of busting your butt, and we are so happy for you to be inducted. You are so deserving. You are, as we've always known, you are the great Jim Wyatt.
You are the great Jim Wyatt.
Well, I appreciate it.
Show him your cake.
That's Jimmy Wyatt. Jimmy is, I'm proud. We're all around here proud to call Jimmy a friend because he is a friend to everybody. Not only is he the best among us, not only does he do it for the fans better than anybody does it, he is just genuinely a good person. Like, genuinely to his core, a good person. I'm honored to be able to do the Titans radio hit with him pregame. I don't deserve to be in there with any of them, much less Jimmy. But when I grow up one day, I want to be Jim Wyatt. Like, he's just the best. So I'm very happy for my friend. A great honor that I know that he won't, publicize himself, but that's okay, Jimmy. I'm a show pony. I'll do it for you. Congratulations, Jimmy.
People throw out, you won't find a better guy in this business, right? Way too often, but he defines that.
I am comfortable saying there will never be a better Titans beat writer than Jimmy.
And a better human, and you will never be Jimmy because he is inherently good, and you are not. Jimmy, I hope your Commodores knock off the Longhorns tomorrow.
You got the Dodgers in the World Series for Wyatt.
Game 1 tonight.
It's a big year for Jimmy Wyatt. We're happy for him.
Very happy for Jim. Very happy for the Kennesaw State Owls, who started the season 0-6 and were hosting undefeated Liberty. A little bit of Thursday night. No, this was Wednesday night. Wednesday night football with this one. Kennesaw State finally picked up their first win of the season against Liberty on Wednesday, 27-24, and the celebration was something special with head coach Brian Bohannon, who's in his 10th season there. Just incredible stuff. Did you say we have audio of this? Okay, you were talking to Jack, so I didn't know if we had something. The celebration was incredible. It is also Liberty's first regular season loss since, speaking of Jimmy Wyatt and the Vanderbilt Commodores, Diego Pavia and New Mexico State beat Liberty in Hugh Freeze's last game with the program 2 years ago. It all comes back to Diego Pavia always. But the celebration last night after Kennesaw State got their first win after an 0-6 start was my Friday fire, or Wednesday night.
Did you see Liberty wouldn't leave the field?
What do you mean? No, I didn't see that.
They wouldn't leave the field waiting for the final result. I didn't see the game myself, but I was seeing some posts about there being an officiating call that they were waiting on or something at the end of the game that they refused to leave the field at the end of the game. Anyway, Jackson, what's yours?
Do you guys remember that agent, Sean Stellato?
Yes, I do. 3HL put him on the Super Bowl. The man wouldn't go away.
Yes, he did. He's still not going away.
Unfortunate.
Tommy Cutlett's agent, for those who don't know, Tommy DeVito.
I could not remember which Giants quarterback.
Tommy DeVito, yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Joseph. So this weekend, he's being honored by his alma mater, Marist College, and the first 1,000 fans of the game get a red fedora, like he wears the fedoras.
That's funny.
Yeah, it was great. I think that's going to be great.
That's pretty cool.
It's going to be decked out in fedoras. It's going to be awesome.
Talk about a guy who soaked up his moment in the sun.
Smart guy. Make money. Go do it. It's like Will Levis and the mayonnaise commercials. Go make your money, bud. One more quick Friday fire before we go to the phone calls. We have to say thank you to the audience. It's been you don't talk about ratings, it's taboo, whatever. We're doing just fine. We're great, which is crazy because the football team has been terrible. And I cannot believe the way that you guys have supported us. We saw some numbers lately that show that the podcast is up over 100% year over year. I don't know why you guys consume this stuff at the rate that you do, but I just want to say thank you truly from the bottom of whatever heart that I have. Thank you. Because you guys are awesome, and you let us do this stupid nonsense every day, and I just wanted to make sure that we shout you out for our Friday Fire, too. 615-737-1045 is the number. Let's go to Robert.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my phone call. I want to say thank you, guys. A few months ago, I called in, and I won tickets from you guys, and for my bachelor party back in September, I saw My Morning Jacket.
Awesome.
Which was amazing. I love those guys. And then we went to the Packers game, which was bad, and had a great time. So thank you guys for that. I get married November 15th, right after the election. So thank you guys very much. I'm excited to get married, and you guys helped me have one of the best bachelor parties I could have. So thank you guys very much.
That's lovely. The best way to win tickets is to shill. Just tell us how great we are. We'll probably rule in your favor. Jackie.
Congrats, Robert.
Is up next. Yes, also congratulations.
What's up, guys?
Yo.
So, I guess there's a theme today. I'm calling Friday Fire for me. In 2011, me and my wife met online. We talked on the phone for 2 years before we ever actually met each other. Tomorrow, we celebrate our 5th wedding anniversary.
Awesome.
And it's been, it's awesome. It's been a wild ride. And I turned 35 today. Pretty crazy.
We have Stephen A. Smith quickly. And remember to stay on hold for the opportunity to win those Kevin Hart tickets if you give us the Friday Fire that works the best. Jackson, do you have Stephen A. Smith back there to wish Jackie a happy 35th birthday at your convenience? Oh, look at him.
He's still looking.
Wait. Before we go. Also, tomorrow, Lucas Panzica.
He tried to remind us all that it was going to be his birthday. It's a very me thing of him to do earlier in the week when I forgot my mother's birthday, which you missed out on, Jackson.
You forgot your mom's birthday
live
and
on
you
air.
cussed this week?
Live on air. I did cuss at the end of the show yesterday, which has never happened.
Let it slip.
Yeah, let it slip, and also forgot my mother's birthday.
Real quick to Jackie, the fact that he met his wife online in 2011 and they're still together, because I feel like 2011 was still a time where it's like, yeah, I met someone online. Yeah, right. And you're like, really? Online? Where now it's like weird if you meet somebody organically.
Manti Te'o?
Like more often people are meeting other significant others online than they are in the real world. So very cool, Jackie. You were ahead of the curve.
Kyle is next.
What's going on, boys?
Yep.
Got two good ones, actually. Got a girlfriend this week.
Nice.
And we get to see a spy versus spy matchup this weekend. We get LSU and their Icy Whites versus the Texas A&M Goobers and their All Blacks.
Ooh, that is fun.
Nice.
Do like a nice uniform juxtaposition, and congrats on the sex.
I love got a girlfriend this week.
Got a girlfriend, yeah. Mark is next.
Hey, my Friday Fire, first of all, is Jackson's is there. Everybody thought he was fired.
Well, that's because I did fire them. They fire him. They undermined my wishes and brought him back, but that's neither here nor there.
All right, my second one is my sons. Man, I got a 14-year-old who's a freshman in high school and a 9-year-old who's in middle school or elementary, obviously, but they both made all A's on their report cards.
Oh,
there we go.
Yeah, so now they can play video games throughout the week again. Because I didn't have the faith that my son would do so good as a freshman in high school. But man, he's blown me away. So I'm very thankful and I'm happy.
Oh, very cool.
I love that for you. I love that for them, Mark. I think Mark should win.
I think he should too.
I think because as somebody who never achieved all A's at any point in my high school, college, grade school, whatever career, that is a celebration for sure. And even when your dad is sleeping on you, it sounds like I don't know if the freshman's going to get it done. Got it done. Big spot. Congratulations to Mark.
Maybe Mark can reward his kids with these Kevin Hart tickets, though he has to pick one of the children to take with him. So whichever one had a higher average gets to go to Kevin Hart.
You get to play video games all you want, but the other one gets Kevin Hart.
Winner goes to Kevin Hart. Fire up EA College Football.
3 keys to beating the Lions. That's next. The Tennessee Men's Clinic is here to help you. Do not go through irreversible surgery, because some guys do, to treat erectile dysfunction before you have talked to the experts at the Tennessee Men's Clinic. They specialize in men's sexual health issues. It's all they do. It makes them the experts in the field, because lots of men assume that if the pills don't work, they have no other options than irreversible surgery to treat ED. The sad reality is that if you go to a doctor to treat your ED, those may be the only protocols that they have available to you. They have access at the Tennessee Men's Clinic to multiple protocols and options to treat your ED based on your specific needs and what's going on in your body. So don't trust your health to an online pharmacy, and don't feel like you're out of options. They want you to understand all the options available for treating ED. The Tennessee Men's Clinic protocols are patient-centered and customized to your needs. They have treatments for everything from low testosterone, ED, treatments that increase size, stamina, and everything else in between. So schedule an appointment online today at TennesseeMen'sClinic.com for their Franklin or Midtown location, or call them 615-208-9090.
It is 12:02. Good afternoon. From the 104.5 The Zone studios, I'm Lucas Panzica. The Titans travel to Detroit to take on the Lions on Sunday. Wide receiver Calvin Ridley, cornerback L'Jarius Sneed did not practice on Thursday. Will Levis was limited with his shoulder injury. Mason Rudolph likely gets the start on Sunday. Brian Callahan will give an updated injury report coming up in a few minutes. The Lee Company countdown to kickoff hits the air at 9 a.m. Titans countdown starts at 11 a.m. and kickoff is at noon with Mike Keith, Coach Mack, and the rest of the Titans radio crew. Big college football weekend, though the Tennessee Vols are off on a bye week over on West End. Vanderbilt plays host to Texas, a 3:15 kickoff between Commodores and Longhorns. Alabama taking on Missouri. You can hear that game at 2:30 kickoff right here on The Zone, courtesy of Westwood One. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Final hour is upon us. Happy Friday. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for jumping in. If you're just now doing so, we appreciate you spending your afternoon or part of it with us. 615-737-1045. All right. Any given Sunday, does it apply to the 2024 Tennessee Titans? Because that's a pretty hard sell right now, and any given Sunday might have already been any given Monday, which the Dolphins game. I know that wasn't a quality opponent that you beat, but you yourselves right now are not a quality opponent. So I'm wondering how much, because it's been a while since we've done 3 keys to the Titans winning the game because we've kind of given up on the Titans winning a game. But it can happen. They are all professional athletes. Professional athletes can get hot, even if it's not for a sustained period of time. Things can happen. Or a team like the Lions can have a letdown. 3 keys. I'm just going to ask you one. I'm going to give you 3. Give me the one reason, if you can. We honestly should have given the Kevin Hart tickets to somebody who could come up with a way that the Titans could beat the Dolphins or the Lions on Sunday if we wanted to do a giveaway. But if you can come up with one reason that the Titans might be able to pull off one of the biggest points spread updates or upsets of the NFL season?
What is the biggest upset of the NFL season so far?
So far? That's a good question. I'd have to go back and look at it. But this might be it. If it was to happen, this probably would be it because there haven't been too many double-digit spreads this year in the NFL.
This would be it. Oh, easily. Yeah. I mean, we're talking about the best team in the NFC.
So, with everything that's happening, because as Taylor H. points out, even the Panthers won 2 games last year.
Yeah.
And last year's Panthers team, even if it doesn't feel like it, last year's Panthers team was a worse team than this one is. Mason Rudolph at quarterback. He has given you the best quarterback play that you've had so far. That's a plus. You have your 2 top wide receivers, one traded to Kansas City, the other one who is likely to not play, though we'll get an update from Brian Callahan here in just a second, and Calvin Ridley.
Didn't practice all week.
Confirmed, did not practice today?
I don't know about today. He did not practice yesterday, and Brian Callahan's going to give us an updated injury report here in a few minutes.
Yeah, so we will find out exactly the status of Calvin Ridley here shortly. You have some quality parts still on this roster, but you are facing one of the best 3 teams in football. My first key is don't let Nicholas Petit-Frere see the field. If you have to make a right tackle inactive this week, I'm good with putting NPF down. Not like that. Not like Terry Bradshaw and Deshaun Watson. Did you see that clip a couple of weeks ago? Terry Bradshaw had a slip of the tongue and talked about the Browns needing to put Deshaun Watson down instead of benching him. It's pretty funny. So, I would prefer Nicholas Petit-Frere not be on the active game day roster. I would prefer to see Leroy Watson. I would prefer to see Isaiah Prince, who has started games for the Cincinnati Bengals under Brian Callahan. He wasn't good, but neither are the rest of the options that you've trotted out there at this point. I'm fine with you trying different things at right tackle. I'm not saying pick one and stick with it, because if none of them are good, I'm not going to say, well, you should just stick with the one that's not good enough, even though you know it, and don't try and change for whatever, because that's the exact same thing we killed Vrabel for not doing with Dylan Radins and Dennis Staley. But NPF does not need to play in this game. And if he's out there starting at right tackle, it doesn't matter who's playing quarterback. I just feel like you're lost. The guy can't play. Cannot. And the Dolphins game, where he's getting the ball, where Rudolph's getting the ball out of his hands very, very quickly and continuing to, be just decisive and not have too much of a long time to throw and all these things like that help protect NPF, but I don't want to live that way every week. Give yourself a chance.
I think we probably overrated Leroy Watson's performance against the Colts.
We did.
The Titans were not very pass heavy in that game, and the bar obviously was very, very low. And clearly the coaching staff didn't love Leroy Watson's performance against the Colts because they benched him.
He was asked on Monday, Callahan was, after the Colts game, that he was asked after the Colts game that he said of Leroy Watson, it was essentially, yeah, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't great either. So that's how things were for Brian Callahan. And that's fine. I accept that. Like, if it wasn't good enough and you gave it a shot, at least you tried it.
We do have Bill Callahan talking about why they decided to start Jalen Duncan last weekend, who did not practice all week.
Let's hear it.
Well, it was interesting. Jalen Duncan went through training camp and had kind of a banged up hand, so he was never really able to function at full capacity. And so we spent some time, had some downtime to get that hand right, and it was perfect. It was perfect timing, and unfortunately, he gets hurt, on the fourth, fifth play of the game, and I really feel bad for him because he was really coming along well, and we had really thought about his progress during the OTAs and going into training camp, and we really thought he was making strides, but he just couldn't use his right hand enough. He didn't have functionality in it, for pass pro. So we backed off and let him rest, but he kept up with everything. And like I said, it was his time to play, and unfortunately, we couldn't sustain after that fourth or fifth play.
So a hand injury that nobody knew about essentially kept Jalen Duncan out of the running for the starting right tackle job. That doesn't mean that he's good.
And he's been out this week with the hamstring.
And not going to, fair to expect that he would not be available to them. So it's Leroy Watson or Isaiah Prince.
And to hear Nick Holtz tell it,
NPF.
The right tackle it's crippled everything they want to do on offense.
Yeah, and well, can we hear from Nick Holtz at your convenience, Jackson? Because that's a pretty transparent thing for an offensive coordinator to say, who's probably feeling a little bit of heat himself. I mean, they all are. They're 1-5.
Yeah, that's goes on to almost every play. We're thinking about protection first, so protection's number one. If we can't protect it, we really can't throw it, right? So if that guy's going to be in a one-on-one situation and we got a big, deep drop down the field, it's probably not real advantageous for us. And then if you're always chipping and helping the right side, it always affects the spacing and kind of distribution of the routes. So all that factors into pretty much every pass and almost all our run formations too, because they all going to marry up. We don't want to be we're always got this look when we're going to pass it and help the right side or help the left side or do those things. So it's really kind of been a concentrated effort from everybody to make sure it all looks the same.
Which, by the way, is just like I've seen too many coaching staffs here, regardless of who the OC is, figure out a way to help the tackles. Now, whether or not they were able to get the offense off or not is different. But like when I hear Nick Holtz say that, I'm just like, hey man, figure it out. That's your job. Like, figure it out. This is a football team that has had to help both tackles at various points for the past 2 seasons. Like, if you just got one right tackle, very rarely, and Brian Callahan has said this, very rarely do you have 5 All-Pros up front. You got to figure it out. You got to have a change-up, essentially, and you can't just run out there with your fastball every time.
Well, you know who hasn't had to help tackles? The Detroit Lions.
Yeah, they're good.
They have one of the best offensive lines, if not the best offensive line in the NFL. Got to be able to disrupt Jared Goff. He's got to be
able to disrupt anybody though, Lucas. I've been saying that for weeks.
I know, and we're waiting for Jeffrey Simmons to take over a game, right? Something he hasn't done in quite some time. And it's hard to expect him to do that against an offensive line that is the caliber of the Detroit Lions.
No, I'm sorry. I expect Jeff to perform if he's out there.
Yeah,
like
sure.
I'm not doing it's tough to expect. No, I expect Jeffrey Simmons to. And by the way, so does he. Like, I'm not saying anything that he doesn't feel personally. This isn't an attack on Jeff. You are the best player on the football team. You are going up against the best competition you've seen all year. Get your ass out there and play good football.
Yeah, they need to bother Jared Goff, something that the blitz-heavy Vikings could not do. Goff was 23 of 25. He was almost perfect, or 22 of 25, rather. He has been perfect one game this season. He is the second highest quarterback in the NFL in terms of completion percentage. Behind who? In terms of starting quarterbacks, right? Jaden Daniels has the highest completion percentage among starters in the NFL.
Crazy.
He's completed 75.6% of his passes.
Wow.
By the way, he seems like he's a game-time decision for the matchup against the Bears. Number 1 pick versus number 2 pick, potentially. But he's got the rip thing. Could be Mariota. Anyway, Goff completing 73.6% of his passes. He has been unbothered, and the Lions have been able to circumnavigate any types of pressure, whether it be the offensive line, getting the football out quickly. Goff has handled it really, really well.
So, my 3 keys: don't play NPF, win the turnover battle, which you could say every week, and just play a possession game. Like, try and limit the amount of possessions. The Colts game, they went a full quarter with not even 2 full possessions in that third quarter against the Colts. They're just trying to bleed the air out of Indianapolis. You can do that against Detroit. You're built well enough to do that against Detroit. This Lions front is solid. DJ Reader is a good player. This team should have been interested in DJ Reader as well before, ultimately drafting Tavondre Sweat. I think that they can give themselves an opportunity to win, which is right now all you can ask for, and basically what I want to see from the coaching staff. Can you give this roster an opportunity to win? Because that, to me, is what this is about. Now, the Titans have failed so far at 1-5, but are their errors fireable? We'll talk about it coming up next. O'Reilly Auto Parts is here for you and here to help you get on the road and make sure that your vehicle is operating at a high level, especially when you unlock your engine's maximum performance with Castrol Edge Full Synthetic. It protects for 20,000 miles between oil changes, is 3 times stronger than the leading full synthetic motor oil, and for a limited time, you can get 5 quarts of Castrol Edge at O'Reilly Auto Parts. You can also receive 3 times O Rewards points, plus a $15 O'Reilly gift card after rebate. O'Reilly Auto Parts is celebrating the 25th anniversary of their famous jingle, and we all know how that goes. They want you to be a part of the celebration. They want you to submit a cover of the jingle, a remix, or your own choreographed dance for the opportunity to win exclusive merch and prizes, including 3 $5,000 grand prize winners from O'Reilly Auto Parts. Submit your video to O'ReillyJingleContest.com now through October 31st. Terms and conditions do apply. No purchase necessary. Nice edit there. This is our buddy Ryan Hurd. It's, okay, you want to find me? At your convenience. You can find me whenever you want. Ryan Hurd is a friend of the show. He listens to the show. We're very happy to have so many talented people here in a great city like Nashville, where there's talent all over the place, be a part of the show. But he released his new song today, This Party Sucks. It's really, really good. You could go check it out. I've never identified more with a song than this song.
It is relatable.
I cannot tell you the amount of times. I don't go, I mean, you of all people know how quickly my social timer runs out, but I cannot count how many times I've shown up at a thing and immediately want to leave, which is a personal problem and probably something I should talk about more in therapy. But either way, it's a great song. You should check it out. Ryan Hurd, This Party Sucks. Just released today. Congratulations to him. So, from one thing to another, if this party sucks, this Titan season sucks. It's tough. You're in a slog.
Yeah, that's what Titans fans are saying about this NFL season.
This party sucks.
Trying to Irish goodbye the regular season.
Literally in the middle of it, right? Not even in the middle. We're not even halfway there yet. This party blows. I'm out. I'll see you next year, New Year's Eve, whatever. I'm out of here. So, yeah, if anything, the Titans fan could identify with that right now. This is an interesting situation, though, because you have a general manager that got a promotion this offseason because Vrabel's situation was fireable, make no mistake, but there was a deference, it seems, to Mike Vrabel in terms of how the football team was put together. And then once Vrabel was gone, they promoted Rand Carthon to where his role encompassed more of the responsibilities of a typical GM. So do you treat this as year one for Rand Carthon? I don't. I don't think that should be done because it's not year one for this front office. It's not year one for Chad Brinker or Anthony Robertson. Like, these people have been together. Fair to expect that they would have, that there should be some level of accountability.
There is, but I also think context matters. I think it's not as simple as, Will Levis is Rand Carthon's pick. I think there has to be the context there of him coming in when he did to a situation where the pre-draft process was well underway with Ryan Cowden and Mike Vrabel.
Yep.
And as we've said, we don't know and may never know who the loudest voice in the room was to draft Will Levis, which has been the crux of their problems for this 1-5 start.
So you got Rand Carthon and that front office, because Chad Brinker and Anthony Robinson are, all together in that, and everybody that works for them. You got Brian Callahan, who's your first-year head coach. You've got all these different things that you spent money on, and the product sucks. I mean, it's bad. It's really, really bad. It's across the board. Denard Wilson in the defense, if you want, you can give him a pass if you want to. That's fine. I know Lucas said in a commercial break yesterday that he hopes that people just ignore Denard Wilson to a certain extent so that Denard Wilson doesn't get hired away. I would expect, if I was Denard Wilson, I'd think about taking a DC job for a better team, but that's neither here nor there. Are the Titans failures this year at 1-5, and fair to expect that there's not going to be some drastic turnaround? Anything is possible, I suppose. But if it continues on said trajectory and they win 2 games or maybe 3, are these offenses fireable at year's end? And who does that list start with? You shook your head no.
I say no.
To whom? All of them? Everybody's safe no matter what?
Well, no, because is someone underperforming somewhere? Yeah, absolutely. Like, could there be changes on the coaching staff? Special teams has not been good through the first 6 weeks, right? Absolutely, there could be changes. But let's keep this to leadership, to Rand Carthon, Chad Brinker, and Brian Callahan. Okay, could Nick Holtz be a sacrificial lamb? Maybe. We're not going to rule that out. Again,
fall guys everywhere.
All bets are off if you go 2-15, 3-14.
Yep.
But keep it to those 3 names in leadership: Carthon, Brinker, Callahan. To those 3 names, I would say no. Unless the directive from Amy Adams Strunk was, you make it work with Will Levis, or you're done. Right? Like that to me, that is the only scenario.
This is a Deshaun Watson, Jimmy Haslam situation?
Seriously, that is the only scenario where I think we see one of those 3 guys lose their job. If they came into this and said, we're building around Levis, if you can't make it work with him, you're out. right? And I would be surprised if that was the situation. And
I would also be shocked if that was a directive.
So I would like to think that there is a school of thought to, we tried with this quarterback. Clearly it did not work. Let's build this thing in the draft, compiling picks the way the Lions have done it after their dreadful start to the Dan Campbell era.
Yep.
They were 1-6 in year 2 of Dan Campbell before they started to turn it around in that season, and they finished close to 500. But they went out and got their quarterback, and they didn't do it in the draft. But that's a discussion we can have too.
And they also have less erratic ownership. I'm not saying that Amy Adams Strunk and the Titans ownership group is unhinged or anything, but you would describe, the Ford family has given multiple coaches multiple opportunities, multiple front office structures with bad football teams, the opportunity to try and turn it around. It's different here. The Amy Adams Strunk let Mike Mularkey go after winning the first playoff game this franchise has won in 14 years. Fired Mike Vrabel with a winning record, understanding that she and Mike had, a differing of opinion. And Mike, not just her and Mike, but Mike and, let's just say, Titans business leadership. There is something to the level of erraticism that doesn't completely rule out changes at the end of the year. But here's what I'll say. I do think that this is fireable, but I don't think that people are going to get fired right now. I reserve the right to change my opinion because we still have 11 more weeks. I do think that 1-5 is fireable. I don't think that any of the principal parties that you've just mentioned are going to get fired, and I'll tell you the only reason why I think that. Because they are still paying a ton of money to John Robinson and Mike Vrabel. And you cannot have it out there that you are an organization that's going to churn and burn coaches. It's one thing to do it to quarterbacks. It's another thing to do it to people that you are trying to recruit to come make your franchise better. The only reason, full stop, that I think people are safe this year at the top, again, fall guys will be had in any year, no matter how good or bad a team is. The only reason that I think that people will not be fired for how spectacularly this has failed, and let me not couch that at all. It has failed spectacularly, is because there are too much money on the books, not just in the upcoming season, but into future years for this front office structure or this coaching staff to get canned after what is essentially year one together. That's the only reason why I don't think people are going to fire.
And because that's what dysfunctional organizations do, right? They turn and burn like that. They don't allow a process to play out. So if you brought in this group of people with the mind of a process that you believed in clearly when you hired Brian Callahan, then I don't think 6 games is enough to just totally throw that process out. I just don't. Especially when the biggest issue has been quarterback play. And there had to be a school of thought there that, hey, he might not be the guy. And if he's not the guy, things are probably going to go poorly here.
I agree, but you're making that about the coaching staff, and my focus would be more on the front office.
Okay, so then let's talk about the front office. Rand Carthon and Chad Brinker built this roster around Will Levis, as we've talked about.
After drafting Will Levis,
yes. Yes, again, that is ultimately the most foundational problem. But in terms of the moves they made this past offseason, there's hardly one that any of us would have taken issue with. This town was fired up about every single one.
I have never gotten in front of a microphone and said, I am excited, I am optimistic about a Titan season before this year. And that shows me right.
Yep, sure. And in terms of the first draft, where we can say confidently Rand Carthon and Chad Brinker had full ownership of, early returns on that are good with J.C. Latham and what they're getting from Jarvis Brownlee. And, Jaquan Jackson, we'll see, but he's getting playing time. He's the punt returner.
Yep.
Early returns are good. Most importantly, you feel like you could have your left tackle of the future. He's playing a lot better than a lot of the best left tackles in the NFL did in their first half of their rookie year.
Oh, no, he has been make no mistake about it. J.C. Latham has been quality, and that is something that you have sorely lacked.
So I'm not going to lie to you. I don't have a lot of big issues with Rand Carthon and the decisions he's made as the GM, because I have the context in mind of having no clue how much of a voice he was in drafting Will Levis. I understand he's the GM and he's assigned to Will Levis. I get that, and you are what your record says you are, right?
Correct.
I totally understand that, but the context matters to me. It matters to me.
No, it matters. It matters to me as well. But the issues are personnel related. the root of their issues are personnel related, right? Starts with the quarterback, ends with the quarterback. That's one thing for sure. The other part of this is context gets thrown out pretty easily. If you sell ownership on a plan, you spend the amount of money that they did, and it doesn't, not only does it not get better, it is appreciably worse. Across the board, save the defense, it is appreciably worse. So like I said, I also agree that more time should be given. If you're going to say yes to a plan, then the plan should be given sufficient time to develop. Whatever that sufficient time is requires the context of, okay, the quarterback first and foremost, and are we prepared? Like, and again, we're not privy to these conversations, but say they were up front with Amy about the quarterback. I say, oh, Amy, we're going to build this thing regardless of the quarterback or not, but we got this quarterback. We think he's got something. But if it doesn't happen, then we've at least got a quality enough roster with the promise of draft picks and, future drafts to come.
Yeah, to overcome some of it.
To overcome some of it and plug another player, whether it be a rookie or a stopgap veteran, while we try to figure out whether this class makes the most sense to draft a rookie quarterback. Like, if that context is provided to ownership and she says, yeah, okay, I get that, these things happen, then that's something to take into consideration. Well, this is, again, information that we don't have access to at this particular time.
And it's critically important information, right? To sitting here trying to
critically important information,
trying to decipher and siphon the blame for the 1-5 start.
But it doesn't matter whose fault it is if the most important thing, the product, fails. Like, the context will be very, very quickly thrown out the door when you say better product, Lombardi aspirations, Titans fans deserve better. Wasn't that a part of the statement or the commentary around the press conferences and the statements that were released? Titans fans deserve better. What is this? You know what I'm saying? Especially with the pressure of opening a new stadium in 2027, because that is not an inconsequential part of this. So I think it is fireable. I don't think at the top, at the highest levels, that people will be fired. But I do think when you message the way that they did and produce the way that they haven't, that should be at least in consideration.
Marcellus on the F&M Bank chat says, I think Levis being drafted had zero to do with Rand Carthon. He hadn't even graduated culinary school yet. I appreciate that, Marcellus.
That's such a dumb joke.
Brian Callahan has ruled L'Jarius Sneed out
again
for Detroit. He said Leroy Watson will start at right tackle on Sunday, but John Ojukwu also could play at right tackle on Sunday.
Keep NPF inactive. That is music to my ears. Even if it goes spectacularly badly, like, at least you gave yourself a chance. I genuinely don't think Nick Petitfrere gives them a chance. But the quarterback situation, Brian Callahan is saying we kind of have a pretty good idea of where we're heading, which to me indicates Mason Rudolph, though we'll see. And now the pressure is on the coaching staff to see if they can devise a win with different pieces and parts than they started, basically every other game with.
Jalen Duncan also ruled out.
Yeah.
Which we would have expected. Tehran tweeted that Brian Callahan said the MRI imaging is worse than initially thought for Sneed, and that's taking it a little longer than normal to heal.
You want to talk about fireable offenses? How much money did it get?
Big deal.
75.
And this is a quad. It's not his knees. The knees, Sneed's knees, were the thing that was the red flag, right? So this is a different injury. But again, this is why, and I know I'm doing revisionist history on this, so I know that it's an easy, I'm not taking a shot. It's just an easy comment for me to make. I was not on board with paying not just one corner, but multiple corners big money. They gave out 2 legitimate contracts. Awuzie makes 13 and change a year. Sneed 17.6 per year on an average annual basis on those contracts. That is the highest variance position that you can go out and buy in free agency. That was something that I was curious about at the start of the year. To date, returns are not ideal. In fact, they're quite less than that.
Yeah, we've hardly seen Awuzie. No, he has played in the regular season.
He has played in the regular season. But it was we didn't see him in the preseason. Yeah. He comes back in the regular season, he's hurt.
Mm-hmm.
So I It doesn't mean that they shouldn't have gotten a corner. They needed a corner. We know how bad. By the way, Christian Fulton looks good in Los Angeles. I don't know. I don't want to bring that up just to twist the knife on Titans fans, but he's playing good football. So is Elijah Molden. It's kind of crazy what Jesse Minter is doing with a bunch of castaways, Tart, Bud Dupree. But that is something to monitor because, again, we have not even gotten through a full year on these Calvin Ridleys, these L'Jarius Sneeds. Those are the two big ticket items that they purchased this year. Two of the biggest ticket items that they purchased this year. And to date, those two, do you think, do Titans fans regret the contracts? Because, like, in retrospect, because at the time you're like, oh, we had this conversation multiple times. Calvin Ridley, we weren't even trying to get Calvin Ridley. Look at that.
Yep.
Rand got Calvin Ridley, let him cook.
Who, by the way, was a full participant today, Ridley, and sounds like they feel good about him playing Sunday.
Okay, well then, given the foot issue rest, and going to put him out there, we'll see if he's able to operate better with Mason Rudolph and an expanded workload. Though, worth noting here, Mason Rudolph got a lot of reps at practice this week. Calvin Ridley did not. So if you're trying to find wide receiver and quarterback on the same page, I don't know if that exactly gels. We'll see. Now, when Snead does play, results have been mixed, but it's not been bad. Like, he has been a quality addition to the defense. I don't think that you can go back and say, well, he's been terrible. And he has gotten beat a couple of times. Corners are going to get beat. That's just what it is. It's not the first time it's happened to him. It happened to him in Kansas City. He's just a part of a Super Bowl caliber defense. But I just, once the money gets bigger and the performance, people, no matter what you're paid, it's Jeff, it's Snead, it's Ridley, big money contracts, that becomes a part of the conversation and also becomes a part of the dialogue on the people that paid them.
Sure. But I don't think we should have the conversation about Carthon Brinker, Callahan, and somebody getting fired until that collection gets their quarterback for this team and they see what they do with that quarterback.
They drafted this quarterback.
They did.
Why is this not their quarterback?
They did.
What?
They brought in Callahan to work with this quarterback. The quarterback might just not be good.
Oh, you're talking about the coaching staff, not the front office.
Talking about all of it. All of it. Because, look, all right, you want to fire the front office and keep the coaching staff and then bring in a new front? We're still doing the on-the-fly stuff that we're talking about.
I'm saying that you are, the way that just sounded to me, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong here, is you saying you want to give the front office the opportunity to get their quarterback when I'm looking every day at the quarterback that they drafted.
Well, give the coaching staff the opportunity to work with a new quarterback, but the front office is a part of that.
That is fair, but the way it didn't sound like the coaching staff was included in that. You thought the way that it sounded to me, and maybe I just misheard it, but that's a hard thing for me to move the goalposts on after the fact.
Getting Callahan his quarterback and doing it with the collection of people that are in place, with the program that you came in believing in the process of moving forward, or else we're still just doing this on the fly stuff. All right, we'll fire the GM but keep the coach. All right, we're gonna keep the new GM but fire the coach. All right, now we're gonna fire the coach and get a new GM. Then we're just still doing this same cycle, the on the fly of the last couple of years. If they came into the season with the process they believe in, was there an acknowledgement of, hey, it might not work with this quarterback? If it doesn't, then are we going to build this thing the way that competitive teams build, and that's in the draft?
I just don't think that a lot of people deserve to get excuses made for them right now.
Sure.
Is my point.
Sure. 1-5 is a reflection on everybody right now.
1-5 is a reflection on everybody. It's funny because I see Jack saying we all knew that Levis wasn't the future of this franchise. Somebody had better tell the ownership that because she put him in his statement about building around a promising young quarterback. It was in, and again, it is correct to message that when you make these changes and you think you have a promising young quarterback. But I'm just saying, like, Amy Adams Strunk didn't think that she had a waste of space. It's not a waste of space. I don't want to get too ahead of myself in the criticisms. But she did not. She was not under the impression that she had a failing proposition at quarterback when all of this stuff was done. So don't do.
Of course not. That's why they spent all that money.
Don't do the revisionist history with me on. We all knew that Levis wasn't the thing at quarterback. Yeah. Last call for phone calls if you got them. 615-737-1045 is the number. I'm Buck Rising. It's 1045 The Zone. All right. Last call for phone calls if you got them. Brian Callahan updating a variety of different things on the Titans front. We mentioned that there will be several players who will miss this game. L'Jarius Sneed will be out. Jalen Duncan will be out. Leroy Watson will start at right tackle. Tavondre Sweat is dealing with an injury too. Worth monitoring there. Apparently he's fighting through it. I would expect a limited tag on Sweat when the injury report comes out in, I'd say, about an hour and a half from now. 615-737-1045 is the number. Let's go with Will, who wants to talk Titans. Hey, bub. Will.
Yes, sir.
What's up?
Hey, guys, football's a business. It's a game and a business. I think if we look at it through that lens and don't just wear blinders, businesses change. Every day there's factors that come in. So I think we open our eyes a little bit and look at this offensive line. Poor. Quarterback already here. So they went out, they got their pieces. They did what they thought they could do to be competitive this year. Obviously, it didn't work out that way again. I would say the offensive line is the reason. But in those business decisions they made, they did come out with some pieces that they were able to move. We just saw here this week and maybe some more to go ahead and get some value out of what they did, in the offseason with the moves and whatnot they made.
No, well, it's... I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Yeah, so, bottom line is I think they had a plan. I think they have a plan, and they're working off of it from a business standpoint. I would imagine that the meetings look like, with Amy, hey, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go get these pieces, put them together. If it doesn't work out mid-season, whatever it may be, we'll get value out of it and then start working towards the future. If Amy's sold on Levis, and gives him the rest of the season, if he can even be healthy, to kind of get another look at that. But I feel like I kind of see what they're trying to do, and if we don't react in the moment for the moment and kind of just let this thing play out, I still have faith that they might be able to get this thing turned around. What do y'all think?
Look at that, right of the gun. Thank you, Will. We appreciate the call. Yeah, that is nuance and reason, and that's fine. I will say it's damn near impossible to not react with so much time to talk about these things between results, right? Because I don't think reacting to how badly it's been is the wrong decision here. But I do think that there is that school of thought, right? That's a summary of basically what we've been talking about here today for 3 hours. And I'm glad to see that some of you are on the same page. Nick is next. Hey, Nick. Nick.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, hey. Sorry.
Okay.
The one thing about the Titans that has bothered me over the years is when you think of great franchises or good franchises, you think of the Steelers, you think of the Packers, and one thing both of those organizations offer is consistency. I feel like we're turning into the Bears because we're trying to catch lightning in a bottle with a quarterback. We're trying to win the lottery with a coach. We're trying to we're overdoing it, trying to do too much because we only get to the playoffs and then we get eliminated and then we got to blow it up and try to do something else because this coach or this quarterback can't get past a certain game when there's a lot of factors that go into it. Take Tom Brady out of the equation over the last couple decades, and it's really, really hard to win a Super Bowl. And if that's all we're trying to chase, we're going to be horrible for a long time.
Yeah, I do understand that train of thought because Ravens super stable, Steelers super stable, Packers don't have ownership by the conventional sense, which may provide them more stability, to be honest with you. But it's tough for me to ding owners who want to win. I don't doubt that she wants to win as badly as you do. You know what I'm saying? I don't doubt that the Bears want to win because they're one of the oldest franchises. They're one of the most proud franchises in football, and they've been a misery for a good portion of their existence. It is difficult to find the balance, and I get what you're saying about lightning in a bottle. But, I didn't begrudge her for feeling like she had hit a ceiling with her organization and that she was trying to break through in some form or fashion. But yeah, I mean, it's really hard. It's really hard. I know nobody cares. It's really, really hard to do.
Speaking of unstable, Hassan Reddick will debut for the Jets Sunday against the Patriots.
Jerry will be the last call today. Hey, Jerry.
Hey, got an idea here. With all the turmoil and everything that's going on with the Titans, why don't we just file for protection under bankruptcy law, reorganization, get rid of all the assets, the players, the coaches, and the general management, give our money back to the Titans fans, and start a new season next year. That's just a thought. Thanks for taking the call.
Thank you for the call, Jerry. It was a little muffled, but basically the summary was, we want our money back.
Burn it all down and give us our money back.
Yes. It was very, very calmly delivered. Yes, I can understand the feeling. I do not anticipate that being a part of their plans moving forward. Polls, please. Yeah.
So sick of this one.
I love this one so much.
We use it like 4 days a week. Presented by Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. What's the most positive story you've seen in sports this week? Adam says D-Hop getting to play meaningful football. Mr. Robinson says Zach Edey fouling out. How do you like that, Zach? Never happened in college, did it? Not bitter. Are you expecting a better performance from Mason Rudolph after more time practicing with the ones? 58% say yes, they are.
Yeah, I would hope so. He seems more comfortable now. He said all that, and it'll look worse than it did in the first half in Buffalo. But I trust Mason Rudolph enough, which is more than I can say about his predecessor.
Who is more likely to get eliminated from college football playoff contention this weekend? 55% are going with Bama against Mizzou over Ole Miss, who plays Oklahoma. Bama hosting Mizzou. Last time Bama was coming off a loss, they had a very uninspired win against South Carolina.
I honestly think Missouri has been terribly overrated all year long, at least in the polls.
They have been.
So I would probably take Ole Miss in that spot.
They've got those,
even though Oklahoma is dreadful.
They've got those bowl game T-shirts, though. What percentage chance do you give the Titans to beat the Lions on Sunday? Oh, it's all low.
Yeah.
Those are the polls.
I give them 5%. I'll give him a 5% chance. I'll be there. Titans Radio on Sunday morning, 9 a.m. is when we'll get started. Me and Jimmy White will have you 15 minutes before kickoff. We'll let the professionals take it from there.
Ravenwood, Oakland tonight, high school football on the Zone and on My TV 30, 7 p.m. Looking forward to that.
Special thanks to Whataburger and Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance. That's going to do it for us today. I'll talk to you Sunday morning from Detroit. See y'all.